We're good. We're good. All right. Tyler Bereman is in the studio once again, this time for a new episode of Gypsy Tales.
Yep, we're back.
You're one of the MVPs, bro. You've got one of the best episodes, well, like highest viewed episodes ever on this platform. And I don't know, I feel like this one could do similar things because we've had a fun week and people have got a chance to follow along.
We've had an eventful week for sure, good and bad, but that's how it goes. You got to take the good with the bad, man. Yeah,
so let's talk about that. What exact? All right, let's just start with what is this trip? What is Eastbound and Down Under?
So 10 years ago, me and you met with our buddy Ryan Walters, and we did basically a week-long road trip from California to Georgia, and we're going down there for the Vurb Classic. So we did it for Vurb Moto, and filmed the whole thing and stopped at a bunch of places on the way, and just filmed the whole trip and created cool content. So now here we are, fast forward 10 years later, and we're back at it, eastbound and down under. I'm in your hood, and we're supposed to be going on a road trip, but
you fucked that up.
Kind of fucked that up. So.
So basically, we got a couple days into the trip, so we'd sort of plan this back and forward. We had some really cool people come on board, like Fast House, got on board. Stevie Shearer at Red Bull kind of helped us organise a few different things because you already wanted to do Farm Jam, and we kind of spoke about this last year. This is one of those ideas that like you kind of just piss into the wind, and it actually comes and we
comes back full circle.
Made it happen.
So obviously Farm Jam's every 2 years, and fortunately enough for last year that I was hurt and it was the year off, so I didn't get to miss a Farm Jam, which was awesome. So back for Farm Jam 2020, they got a whole new setup and a bunch of jumps, so stoked to be heading down there. But that was the original plan, was obviously to be going back down to Farm Jam and doing the contest there. So I was like, what better, like if I'm already down in New Zealand and that far across the world, then I might as well try and go to Australia for a little, basically quote unquote redemption trip. So that was what we had planned, and I guess my redemption turned into
rehab,
I guess. Yeah. So unfortunately took a digger, but just glad it wasn't worse.
What is it about Australia, bro?
I don't know, man. I really, really love this place, but it's just.
Do you just feel sandy when you get here?
No, that's the thing, man. Like when that happened the other day, when I took that digger, like I haven't crashed in so long. Like you know, a couple tip overs or whatever riding a track, but like I have not crashed in so long. It's like since I hurt myself, obviously, and like I've been so dialed with my whips. I never, even especially like when it comes to a contest, like I'll step outside my comfort zone a little bit, but like riding on a day-to-day basis and hitting ramps, like I feel super comfortable doing all three of my directions of whips, and as of late I've been working on trying to do like my opposite, like seat bounce whips, and then opposite turn ups. I cannot do an opposite turn down for the life of me, but I was doing an opposite turn down opposite turn up, and I was kind of in the wind, and just it happened so quick. I just remember rolling into the ramp and rolling onto the concrete, and just, I don't know, I guess I just had a bit of a brain fart, and I was thinking too much, and I looked up and felt a gust of wind, looked up, saw the trees blowing, and I thought about it as I was, this whole time I'm rolling into the ramp and thinking, okay, this is basically a switch whip for me, and it's backwards to me. So did a turn up my opposite way, and as soon as I left the ramp and felt the gust of wind, just opened up, got stuck, and was along for the ride. And I didn't remember too much right away, but about an hour after everything started coming back to me, and I remembered everything. I remember checking the trees. I remember everything all the way up until the point until basically my wheels touched dirt and I slammed. So I thought I was gonna ride it out until that very last second, and slammed my face. And unfortunately, like my bad ankle, it's pretty stiff as is already, and it was under the bike, and just got my ankle pretty good twisted. It's all bruised up and a little bit swollen, but we've been working with some doctors up here that helped me the first time, and Dr. Chris Brady, he helps out with the Red Bull V8 racing team down here. So super good doctor, really good insight, and had x-rays and had a couple concussion tests done and protocol tests. That way I can fly to New Zealand, and everything seemed to check out. Had no fractures in my ankle, which is really good. So just bruised and battered, but man, I'm just psyched to be sitting here this time and not, fresh out of surgery, fresh off a little head knock, but I'll take that rather than surgery.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely gnarly to make that phone call to Steve from Red Bull, and like he's in the car. So we're at the hospital, and then with your with insurance the way that it is, for people that don't know, Americans can't come to Australia and just get free healthcare because it's like some kind of like trade deal or whatever with different countries. So we're kind of, you get knocked out at the compound, and then we drive probably like 35 minutes to the hospital, and then we get to the hospital, and then I ask inside whether it'd be free or you'd be out of pocket, and then it was like one of those deals where it was like, you weren't bad enough to, it was like an emergency situation kind of deal.
Yeah, it wasn't bad enough to call the ambulance or anything, but you kind of just wanted to know in the back of your mind that everything was all right. Yeah,
so then we end up calling Steve to be like, oh, what should we do, like with Red Bull insurance and all that sort of stuff. And then Steve's voice, like, he was like, because what did I say? I was like, hey, like, TV took a bit of a digger. And he's like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He's like, you're lying.
And I'm like, nah, like, he did. And he's like, no, he definitely didn't. So, I mean, it's like that, I guess that first deal here was just so gnarly. It's like,
yeah, I mean, for sure, especially for him too, like, traumatic deal. Like, we're like brothers. Like, obviously he's my team manager, but he's a great friend of mine. So seeing me go down, he left California. He was in Montana, flew to California, grabbed his passport, and flew straight here to help me, which is like,
that's homie shit right there.
Yeah, it's like family stuff at the end of the day for me. So yeah, for him to have to get that call again was just like, probably just his heart sank, I would imagine.
Oh,
but
dude, I felt so bad too.
So, but like, yeah, how we were talking about it, like when it happened, I remember I'd started coming back, but at first, when I first got knocked out, I remember like, I don't remember really anything until after, basically, like, we left, we did everything, like, you guys helped me out and all that, and until afterwards I didn't remember all this stuff. But we left, we got to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital I was really out of it. I didn't really remember anything. I was really foggy. And then it's funny because what you mentioned about going to the hospital, you walked into the hospital to make sure it was all right, and it was just weird that, like, as soon as you left the truck and you walked into the hospital, like, I started like looking around, and like, everything just started coming back to me like really quick. And when you came back out, it was like, oh, well, no, like, I basically voiced my opinion to you that, like, I think I'm all right. I just want to go ice my ankle and just lay down. Like, don't let me go to sleep. Like, and then everything just started coming back to me. Like, I remembered checking the wind. I remembered everything up until my wheels hit the dirt and I hit my face, obviously. And then I don't remember a little piece of time. Obviously, I don't know how long I was there, but I have a couple minutes. I remember like getting my jersey off and my helmet, and then my nose bleeding, and like wiping my nose, and then I don't remember another little small period of time where I got on the back of Harry's bike. He took me to the top, and then got to the top. I remember as soon as I sat down at the top, I remember taking my boots off and asking questions and getting in the truck. I remembered all that. So there's just little bits and pieces that I didn't remember once everything else came back. But yeah, man, for just thankful to be wearing a Bell helmet. Like, there's a lot of helmets out there, a lot of options, but just thankful to be supported by some of the best in the business. And like, for as hard as I slammed, man, like straight to my chin, got my forehead, and blood inside my goggles, started bleeding from my nose. I mean, for hitting that hard and being somewhat okay is it's pretty good. So I'm stoked to. Thanks, Bell.
And you can see on the on your helmet itself that there's like a massive rock line, and then so there's like just one massive like gorge out of the helmet, and then it goes down to the goggles as well. Yeah, it goes. Well, I'm pretty sure what had happened was when I hit, obviously it was going to my chin. I hit my chin bar first, and it pushed it down, and then got a rock went all the way across my goggles, basically up my forehead like that, and just dug into my helmet super bad. So
Unfortunately, that was a helmet that meant a lot to me, but I dedicated
retire that thing.
Retire it for sure. I've dedicated it to my buddy Jordy that passed away, and thanks Jordy for looking over me, keeping me safe on that one.
Yeah, if you like wanted to look deep into that, it's like that could have been like if some real bad shit happens because of that crash, like you wouldn't be surprised.
No, for sure.
You'd watch that crash and be like, yeah, I can see how he got fucked up.
Yeah,
but it's almost like you had someone
blessing in disguise,
like watching over you, you know, because that should have been way worse than what it was.
Yeah, as you know, I've taken some heavy slams, but that one was just so quick and abrupt, and I just don't think I saw it coming. I thought I was gonna save it until that very last second, you know. And away she went.
On the bright side, we got a pretty funny Gypsy Gang news out of it.
Yeah. I got to make light of a shitty situation, really. So, unfortunately, that happened. It's not if, it's when, and it happened, and again in Australia. But, yeah, it's not if, it's when, and shit happens. It's not like I was doing anything stupid. It was just one of those things. It was basically something that's, you know, it's like throwing a ball with your left hand, and I'm right-handed, you know. So it's like, it was switch and it was backwards to me, and it just got stuck, and that was it.
Dude, we still had a pretty good week though.
Yeah, we did have a good week. Had a good week after that. Not the week I wanted, because I want to ride. Yeah. It's like in another country and I'm riding my dirt bike. But
dude, we
got
had
a couple
some
days.
Sick spots planned too.
Yeah, we did. But you know what that means?
Next time.
Eastbound and down under round 2.
Doors.
I'm just gonna wear my helmet everywhere
all the way the whole time, dude. I don't know if Steve's like signing off on any kind of Australia.
Yeah,
trip
maybe not.
We gotta get some runs on the board.
Plan my trip, each trip to Australia at my own risk.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things though, because it's right. Like, there's nothing. You weren't doing crazy shit. No. It was, and then you'd done one right before. It's just.
Yeah,
sometimes you crash.
I did the exact same thing right before, and it felt good. Like, obviously it wasn't like my normal way. It was a little different, but it just, I don't know, just got stuck, man.
So
that quick.
So we'll recap the trip a little bit, I guess. So the first day, basically grab you from the airport, and then we go and steal Toby's bike.
Yeah, went and stole Toby's bike. Thanks, Toby. Sorry, Toby. But went and stole his bike, and then
also fuck Tony.
Yeah. But yeah, so we ended up going to Papa Pete's house, and he helped us get the bike all dialed in, everything swapped over, and then
which is kind of lucky, because we the original plan was just like grab the bike, and then come back here. Yeah, but we ended up needing some
stuff. Yeah, because I run the stock forks at home, and Toby has the oversized forks, so luckily he had an extra set of clamps there, which that was pretty much what we needed. That and a regular size axle. It had an oversized axle for the bigger fork. So those were the two things. Screwed. So kind of would have been screwed and would have had to go see Papa Pete anyway. So, but yeah, he helped us out, got that thing all built, and then came back down to the Goldie and spent the night obviously at your spot, and then woke up the next day, and it was unfortunately just draining rain. So. Kind of just had a rainy day schedule to get everything together, threw the graphics on. That was the only thing I needed to do to the bike after that. And then we were kind of playing it by ear, just waiting for the storm to pass. And we got a little window and fortunately snuck out to this private sand track. That was insane. Yeah, we fully jagged that. Yeah. We were so on the borderline. Shout out to Andy Jackman too, because Andy was like really pushing for us to shoot. Really and I was like, dude, we're getting wet, like super, super, super wet. And it's kind of like a hike in there. I was like, I just don't see this going good. And looking at the Doppler radar, there was no way that that thing was missing us, and it went right around us. It's crazy. So yeah, that track was pretty sick. Yeah, the track was super sick. I was gonna say it was super sick, even with Supercross suspension. It was definitely a little beat me up a bit, but had some fun, man. It was like coming through the trees and all the single track stuff that we went through, and then all of a sudden you pop out and it's like a rad track, and it's like I was not expecting that. I was expecting a track in the trees and where we were and expecting to get eaten by man-eating spiders out there. Which you almost did. Which I almost did. But yeah, so we ended up riding that track that day, and then we had the swags and everything in with us. We had a Crick's Tweed gave us a van to use, so could throw a lot of our stuff in one van and then have the bikes and some other stuff in the truck. So Yeah, so we had 2 vehicles and we ended up leaving there, headed straight over to 5060 compound with Harry Bink, stopped and got some food
God's
on the
country.
way. Yeah, and that place is awesome. Ended up getting there at night, ended up barbecuing up some food and ended up getting my first like Australian swag experience. Slept in a swag and got eaten alive by spiders and mosquitoes, and quite the experience. It was yeah, at least we got some clear skies.
I was gonna
got to
say, but
sit
the
there and
stars kinda made it worth it.
stargaze for a bit.
Dude, how
cool.
sick was that app? What is that app called?
Let me look.
So we like the...
So yeah, I was trying to point out all, like you guys were trying to point out like a cross.
Oh, the Southern Cross. That's how it
Southern
started,
Cross
yeah.
in the sky with all the stars. And then in America there's other things, like I don't know if it's the same here, but Big Dipper, Little Dipper, Orion's Belt, like all that stuff. I'm sure it's all the same, but we started pointing them out, and someone had mentioned, I think there's an app for that. So we ended up downloading this app, which is called Skyview Lite.
So you didn't get that full version?
What?
You didn't get the full version?
No, that's just what it's called.
Really?
Skyview Lite. Yeah, I bought it.
Might be like, you bought it as well?
I'm pretty sure.
It worked.
But no, it was super cool. You can literally just like gaze the stars and like move your phone across pretty much the black night sky towards all the stars, and it'll point out which star's which and the name of the star and all the Orion's Belt, all that stuff, all like the signs for Virgo, star signs and all that stuff. So I don't know, it was pretty cool. So we were like sitting there tripping on that for a bit, and but yeah, it was super cool. Got the swag experience and stayed overnight and woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, and it was already bright outside and like 300 degrees. super humid. Yeah, it's like Florida heat. I don't know I mean, probably most Australians probably haven't been to Florida, but it's the same. It's summer here on the Gold Coast. Is Florida. So yeah, it was gnarly. I woke up and I was just draining sweat and getting eaten alive, but I was stoked to wake up and see all the ramps, because we got there at night and didn't get to see anything when we pulled in. And
that's true, huh?
Yeah, and then woke up and saw the whole setup and yeah, it's cool, man. Had some fun until it wasn't fun.
Dude, how cool was it though that we can just like really not have that much of a plan, and just sort of chuck some shit together? And we had such a fun night. Like we just made it super simple, like for sure, sausages and bread for
shout out to
dinner.
Harry for making that happen, because after that sand track and it was hot and we were beat and we knew our plan was to ride 50-60 and leave from there and head south. So we had a lot of stuff we needed to do, but it was like if we stayed out there and camped, it would have kind of taken away eating at our time, and so it was kind of a toss up. But yeah, Harry was not letting it go. He was going out there. He fully committed, and so did we. So I was stoked we did it. It was like cool experience, super cool experience. Other than it being 300 degrees, but yeah, I had a blast. And then our plan was to leave from there, but obviously I fucked that plan up. So so yeah, other than that, like we've the other few days after that, unfortunately I obviously couldn't ride. Went and saw Dr. Chris Brady that helped me out for the first time for my surgery, and he got me into his clinic, kind of checked out my foot and made sure everything was all good. And like he said, I was a little foggy, so he sent me over to another doctor and had a full concussion protocol test and all that, and basically I just did rehab on my foot, just ice and heat, and went to this place here called P3. It's like ice and heat therapy, and it's 4 pools side by side with magnesium and all that stuff in it, and so did that every day, try to flush the swelling out, and got compression socks. Just been doing everything I can for my ankle. I mean, obviously I didn't break anything in my ankle, which is good. I'm super thankful for that, but it's super stiff and sore still from my injury a year and a half ago, and any little hits that I take on that thing, it usually gets pretty pissed off, and this time it's really pissed off at me. It's all bruised and swollen, so I've been doing everything I can on that to just flush it away, and like I said, therapy, and that's about it. Other than that, just kind of been chilling. We went out and actually got to go watch Todd ride that sand track. Todd Waters, the Australian champ, and it's cool to see him rip it. He was flowing.
Is it cool to like come to another country? Because I know a lot of times when you travel for these sort of things, where it's like a shoot or it's whatever, and it's, even this trip, you wouldn't have really got to just sort of like live a life for a week, essentially. You know, like a lot of times you're on the go, moving around, and it's like you sort of hotel rooms or whatever. But I don't know, this week it's like you actually just got to kind of live the Burleigh lifestyle for a week, which was, you know, you got to kind of see everyone except Sam, I guess, but our crew, and, you know, hanging out with Harry, and, you know, going to the beach, and like you kind of just got to have this chill week where you got to live like kind of how we live. And it was, I don't know, it was fun to have you like a part of just the regular program in a way.
No,
you know?
It was cool. I mean, like it was cool getting to check it out and hang out, but like really we didn't get to do a ton because I was my most important thing was just chilling, letting my head rest, getting my foot up, and had, you know, we've done enough.
Like
seen
just
little things. Just went to the beach and saw that, and like the food and coffee culture have been super cool places each night, and met all the boys that I didn't meet last time that I was sitting in the hospital for. So it was cool just to meet everyone and hang out, and just not really obviously what I wanted, but it was cool just to have a relaxing week and see the, you know, different cultures and different places and meeting cool people. So yeah, it was fun.
Is there another Harry Pink somewhere out there in the world, do you think?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yep. Nope. No one like him.
He's the fucking best.
Yeah, he's the best. He's a really, really good human being, man.
Even what we were saying, like when we were talking about the underwater thing, and because we just got super weird watching like random
videos
clips.
Just sitting there bored, like next to our swags, just like so I don't know what happened. Someone brought we watched it. We were doing the star stuff, and we were like, we mentioned something about the ocean, how we
Mariana's Trench. That's right.
Yeah, well, we mentioned that we know more about our like galaxy than we do about our ocean, which is mind blowing, you know. And then we started thinking like, oh, how deep is the deepest part of the ocean? And it's basically Mount Everest underwater plus a mile. And then we typed it in on YouTube and found this weird little video and started watching it. And it was actually like made a lot of sense, like how they showed the video. But then it turned into like, oh, have you seen this video about like the fourth dimension? And like we were all just I don't know. It was funny.
It was one of those weird
YouTube rabbit hole. And then we got to the point where started watching that fourth dimension video, and it just made perfect sense, but absolutely no sense that makes any sense. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. It was funny. But,
I just love like Harry. He's just like, we were talking about in the car. He's just like not scared to say that he
doesn't know. He doesn't know, and he knows he's wrong, and he wants to learn. So
but I just think like you on surface value like that's dumb. Like you should know that, but it's like, is he almost the smartest person in the world because he's so quick to admit he's fucking wrong?
It's funny because you know, if you would see him and you'd you know, judge a book by its cover, you'd think like, oh, that guy's like, he's a little wild and he's like not that like kind of dumb, but he's really not. He's a really smart dude, you know. He's really funny, he's really smart, he's really kind-hearted, and like you said, it takes a lot of guts and being smart to admit that you're wrong and wanting to know why you're wrong and be right, you know?
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time around him, and, you know, I feel like I know him pretty good, but I don't know, that night just was such a good, I'm like, you're actually the smartest motherfucker I know. Like, he just straight up says, like, I don't know anything about space. Yeah. And it's like, you know, you hear that, and it's like, that's like a dumb, you know what I mean?
We were like, oh yeah, the deepest trench is this. He's like, we haven't gotten that deep to explore it really. And he's like, what do you mean we haven't gotten that deep? Like, give me a snorkel, I'm down there. And it's just like we all just started laughing, but it's just, you know, shit like that.
You could fully imagine what it would have been like to be in his class at school. Yeah. Like, he's like literally that's Jage.
But then, you know, he laughed about that and it was funny, but then he's like, no, serious, like why don't we know? And then we had to explain like the pressure of the lower you go, it would basically crush a submarine like a can, and like he was like, oh no way. And so, but you know, learning something new every day, man.
But it's I just think it speaks like so much to like his character, and even how much he was like when you got hurt, he was so down to help with like going to P3 and doing all the recovery stuff and like using his ice machines and stuff. Like it's pretty sick.
Yeah, he was right there to help me when I went down, and then he's been to P3 with me every day doing the ice and heat therapy, and then he let me stay at his house one night and use the ice machine all night and sit in the hot tub and stuff, so that was cool. Yeah, man, he's a good man.
Good dude, eh?
Good cunt.
Good cunt. Fucking good cunt.
Sorry, Mom.
Dude, we were sort of like, we were kind of half talking about it before. I've been trying to like save shit because obviously all we've done is fucking hang out and talk shit for the last week. But that I was thinking that first eastbound and down trip, that was like my first real adventure that I ever had in my life. I obviously had been living in Oz and I was kind of gypsying around Australia doing the filming thing, and that's obviously where like the name come from and how my career started. But I had never gone overseas. I had never been alone and done like a fucking crazy adventure with like dudes I didn't know, and it was such a rad experience. And then I just kind of thought that it was stuff that you would have been doing, but you'd never really done anything like that either, really. Like, you'd driven across the country for races and stuff, but it's like we were just three fucking young idiots. You know?
I'd driven across the country multiple times with my family, going to amateur nationals and stuff, but never with my homies. At 18 years old.
It was crazy, eh?
19.
You're either 18 or 19.
I was 18, I think. It was a year after I graduated.
And especially with like some random Australian dude that you'd never met.
Never met yet. And then you were working or helping the Vurb guys at the time, and then Walt was like, we'd planned on kind of doing this, and Ryan Walters was like, oh yeah, Jace is gonna hop in with us, and was like, oh, all right, yeah, cool. And then I met you like the day before we left, and it was like, all right, like, cool, you know. And yeah, it ended up being quite the trip.
But it was definitely like a legitimate adventure.
Very
like,
much.
We didn't stay in one hotel.
No,
we drove pretty much
straight
the whole
through.
way through, dude.
I mean, this is what differentiates this one, I guess, towards that one would be we didn't really stop that many places to ride along the way. And then basically we had to drive straight through just to get to the race, and then we raced the race, and I ended up staying down there for a little while afterwards, and then riding some spots along the way, which we did. A couple of places in Louisiana?
We rode at
Alabama.
We rode at Matt Walker's place.
Yeah, we rode at Walker's place. We rode at Durham Town, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, Durham Town, because that was the first time I ever hit a ramp.
Really?
Yeah, remember Wyndham was there, right?
No,
was that a different time?
It must have been a different one.
No, okay. I've been to Durham Town twice. The second time I was there, Wyndham was there. It was for a Rocky Mountain ATV thing.
Yeah, I definitely remember it was at Bereman, Georgia, and I remember, so that's where the race was, and then I definitely remember Matt Walker's because he said that fucking when he was like, Wes introduced me, and then he goes, I like your French accent, and then just walked off.
The most American response
Dude,
ever.
It was the best call ever, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we were down there afterwards, me and Walt.
Yeah,
because I think you left
because I had to go back to Australia.
Yeah, so you left. So that's when me and Walt had done a few more spots along the way, which was super fun. But this one, we were that was our plan, was to ride multiple spots along the way. Yeah. And we didn't make it happen, obviously, because I fucked that up. But yeah, it was just crazy experience being that young and driving across country with two homies and going to a race. And yeah, it was fun times. And then I kind of did the similar thing with Durham. Right, and the East Coast is toast. Something about the East and a road trip.
Dude, I was going to say, like, there's just something about a good road trip in general.
Yeah, so that one was quite the adventure too, but that was what we had done on that one, was go and stop at a bunch of places along the way and ride, and we were racing Supercross. So
yeah, what did you reckon that first eastbound and down did for your career?
I think, like, obviously the adventure part of it was awesome, but I think just that was right after I'd won Loretta's and I was racing, and I was really like focused on racing at the time, which was cool, but it also put in like just being on the road with you guys and Walt, and like obviously Walt was the first person I met when I came to Southern California, and I lived with him for a long time, and I wouldn't be anywhere without that dude, just for him and his family taking me under their wing and letting me basically live at their house and get on my feet.
Did you move into that house? Because I remember after Parla I stayed with Walt.
Yeah, and there was no furniture in the house
at all. Yeah. And it was just me and Walt. And in that house, there was a pool table.
That was when I met you, like right before we left, right?
Yeah, and so did you stay there for a little bit as well, like when the house was like that and it was just Walt?
When I met Walt, I was staying with him at his Yorba Linda house.
Yeah.
And then I was staying, like basically living, like every other week I would come down from my parents' house, not necessarily living there, but the whole reason how this all came about, I was coming down south every other week and just sleeping in my van in Walmart parking lots so I could go like ride and train and ride all the tracks. So that's what I was doing. And then I met Walt at Oak Hill one year when I had a torn ACL, and I went with the guy that ran the race tech thing at the time, and I met Walt, and then he's like, oh yeah, I live in so-and-so, and like just like if you ever want to come down, come hang and like stay at the house. And then it just turned into like I would come down every other week. I'd hit him up, and then they'd let me stay, which is like, dude, like, can't thank them enough. It's like, if I wasn't for that, I would have never been where I am, just to get me on my feet. And as well, on top of all that, Walt doing what he does in his film stuff, and me getting, like, already, you know, I love watching film and videos and other action sports and stuff, but just being around that, like, really inspired me to just want to film. And how he was the first person to put a camera in my face and all that stuff. So that's kind of, I think, definitely helped me that first Eastbound and Down trip of doing that and seeing like just how it works. I mean, I'm terrible when it comes to technology and computers and stuff like that, but like just the grind of it, you know, on the road and filming, but then Walt just crushing edits all along the road. And then
dude, we were editing in the van.
I remember, and you guys, like, we'd have to stop for hours, for, you know, sometimes up to 2-3 hours at a Starbucks to let the damn thing.
Filler.
Yeah. And sit there and let it upload and export, and next thing you know, like, we're back on the road. So just, I think the adventure, and then just, you know, helping me kind of create my, I guess, a niche for myself, or a hobby, or whatever it may be, however you want to do it and say it, call it, whatever. But it definitely helped just guide my path of where I'm at now, because I was always into film, even when I was racing.
Just watching that skate film and stuff, like, you're dissecting these parts. Like, we just watched the Supreme film, Blessed, and it's like, I'm a fucking filmer, and it's like the stuff you're picking up on is crazy. Like, I don't even look for that kind of stuff when I film.
It's, I don't know, sometimes you just have a weird eye for little things, but if I had to like sit down and do it myself, I'd be like fish out of water for a minute. But
even when we're doing like
Gypsy
Gang News, like, even doing the new stuff today, like, all your idea, like, every idea you said is on that screen. It's pretty fucking cool. And I think that's why, because I remember that with the trip that we did, it was just so easy to, like, you almost knew what to do, what to say. It was super easy, like, you just got it. And that's one of the things where I'm like, man, I wonder if that was like the first legit film trip where Bereman got to like be Bereman, because like we know you now as like that kid that was in Eastbound and Down. That's like kind of the same kid. You just got to do, like, you got to play that whole thing out.
And it's funny how it all worked, because we had gotten back from that whole trip, and that was basically right when I had met Twitch and all those boys, and it was because Andy Backen was my team manager for Answer 8 and Pro Taper at the time, and Andy's good friends with Twitch, and he was like, hey, like, he knew that I was into freeriding, jumping, and all that. Like when it would rain and I stayed at Waltz all the time, like, we would go out to Beaumont because it's right there, you know what I mean, and go ride with like Kyle Engel and who else did we ride with? There was, you know, a handful of us. We'd go, there was like Christian Craig sometimes. There was a lot of dudes that would go out and ride that back in the day, and it was like Vurb Moto, like, they would just crank out sick content, and, you know, with
it's
all
so
those guys.
Crazy to think the timing of like your career, right?
Vurb
was in full peak. You were living with Walt, and you were this insane free ride dude that had the respect of all these guys. Like, you know, one thing is, say if like one thing was out of sync, your career probably doesn't happen. Like, I mean, imagine if like there was you.
I'm a firm believer that, like, if you gotta want it, and if you want it bad enough, you're gonna figure out a way to get it. So I feel like
It would have happened either way.
I would have I wouldn't have maybe happened the way it did, but I would have made it happen one way or another, or at least died trying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I got back from Loretta's from this eastbound and down trip, and then I met Twitch and all those boys, like ended up going out to Ocotillo with them, and like that was basically like not necessarily a road trip, but like I tripped out, like, you know, took a trip out there to with those boys, and then ended up like they were filming with Jay Schweitzer for Jeremy's movie 420% All Natural, and then I ended up hitting a couple like pretty gnarly jumps. This one that like no one had ever hit before. It was
really?
It was a step up we were doing one way, and I hit it like backwards off the corner of the knuckle.
Would that be online?
Yeah, should be. Yeah, I
we
think.
Should try to look for that.
400. It was Jeremy's movie online.
I don't know.
It's on my Instagram.
Oh, really?
I put a video. Yeah.
Could you search his Instagram?
And it was I had posted that on my Instagram when I was hurt, so it's not too deep. I don't think.
I was gonna ask you if there was like one jump that you think got those boys respect. So that was it. That
was it. Yeah, and I can go into that more, but it was funny. So we go out there first just had met these guys, and you know, it's Twitch. I look up to him, you know, and all the militia boys, they're filming for Black Friday too, and at the time, and Twitch shortly after broke up with militia, and then he started making.
There's a bit of a battle of a film right now.
Yeah, well, and then 420%. He started making his own movie, so yeah, it keeps going down. So I go out there, and these boys are all like, "Oh, who's this kid?" You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
this kid like coming out, and I first jump, I come up and I like pull line step up, and I fucking case the thing like so hard twice. Like I was coming up so short that I just turned my bike and landed in this pocket and just rode right out of it. Go back up.
Go up. Yeah.
Sorry.
That was podcast last time. Where is it?
Keep going. Right there, middle. Right.
Jesus, dude.
So
play that.
So
shit.
This thing, I ended up casing. That's the double backwards right there. So we were hitting it a step up going that way, and at the time, no one had ever hit that thing. And like you could see, I still have all my like yellow plates and stuff from, I think it was Mammoth or something. But, anyways, so yeah, I cased this jump, this pole line step up, one of the most famous jumps out there. I cased it twice, and almost killed myself. And all these guys are like, "Oh man, like this is gonna be a long day. This kid's gonna kill himself," you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up going to a couple zones, and then found this double right here. And like I said, we were hitting it as a step up going the opposite way. Yeah. So jumping from where I'm hitting now, from jumping from right to left and landing up on that step up landing, basically.
Yeah.
And I just rode off that corner a couple times, and I kept riding off of it, and I'd ride back over to the step up that was right by it, and I'd go back and forth, and like that was just driving me nuts. Like if I was gonna leave and not hit that, it was gonna drive me nuts. And I kept riding off of it, and like all the boys, like I came back and rode up to all the boys, and they're like, you know, because the session had kind of stopped on the step up next to it, and they rode over, and they're like, "Oh, like I don't know about that thing, man. Like we're out here, you know, like it's not really worth it, you know." But I was thinking in my head, like I want to get this shot, you know what I mean? This is like my shot to get the shot, you know. So anyways, like I'm hitting it, and it's so I like really didn't say anything to them. Like I literally just like, all right, yeah, I feel you, and then I kind of sat there and like just sitting there, and I just like didn't quite say anything. I just threw my helmet on, and I was just like started my bike and just rode off, and like rode off of it a couple more times, and I was just like, all right, like it's on, you know. And when I do that and I ride off of something, and I'm like I have it in my head that I want to do it, like there's no stopping me to do it. Like I'm gonna do it, and I'll get quiet, and then I'll just like give my bike a few revs and take a deep breath and just hope for the best. So I ended up first time like came in like barely tagging my back wheel, like, and that thing's sharp. Like if you would have cased it would have been game over. But yeah, I ended up getting it, and like was like all the boys were pumped, like yeah, like fuck yeah, you killed it. And then I like rode back, hit it like, you know, four more times probably, blew the lip out. Lip was a toast, and then as I was hitting it more, like I could see like Jay was packing up his camera on the other jump, and he was like coming over because he saw me hit that thing.
Yeah.
And I, you know, the lip was blown out, so I rode from like the landing, rode over to where the boys were sitting there, just like they all gave me like fist bump and stuff, like good job, you made it, you didn't kill yourself, you know. And then and then Jay is walking over, and I see like Jay walk over to the lip, and he's like putting his tripod down and building his camera, and like we're all just, you know, kind of just not even not really paying attention to him doing it, and like we're all just shooting the shit. And then I just hear like Jay over our shoulders like, hey, like, can you hit it one more time? And like every like Twitch, and like, you know, Twitch loves to talk shit. He's like, fuck you, Jay, like you missed the shot, it's blown out, like blah blah blah, like, yeah, you know, it ain't happening. And I was just like kind of like, oh, like I'll go over there and like check the lip out, you know. And I kind of fixed the lip a little, and then I was like, this is my shot. So, and ended up, yeah, getting a couple clips for Jay, and then ended up making it into Jeremy's movie at the time. And then fast forward, I'd say 2-3 months later, Jeremy hit me up, and he was filming another segment up in Cambria, which is it's just so happened to be close to my hometown where I grew up.
Yeah, right.
And on the Central Coast in California. And he hit me up, and he's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, nothing. Why? What's up? And he's like, you want to go ride this spot? And this guy has a bunch of land, and we built some jumps, and we're filming for 420 still. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And he's like, okay, come bring your bike to my house tonight. Eric, like his mechanic at the time, Eric's gonna leave with Daniel Sani, and they're gonna take off, and they're gonna drive the bikes up, and you go home, come back to my house, be here at 7 a.m. and then we're getting picked up by a helicopter, and we're flying up to Cambria. So I literally like rolled over with the backpack full of clothes, rolled over to Twitch's house, literally just sitting there like having coffee in the backyard. Here comes Heli Jim. Like Heli Jim films a lot of stuff for Baja, all kinds of stuff, but he was, at the time, this was well before drones were the shit, and you know, we wanted that heli, or not me obviously, but Twitch wanted that heli footage for his movie. So they fucking landed that thing in his backyard and hopped in it. Next thing you know, I'm on my way to this spot. I honestly, like, when he told me, I was like, oh, like Cambria, that's crazy, it's close to my house. And like, we're flying up there, and we ended up flying inland a little bit, like kind of where like Castillo Ranch is and stuff, and flew over where Neverland Ranch was, where Michael Jackson's ranch was, and saw the ranch, and it's super creepy, like all this, you know, place still out there. Flew over it, but anyways, we ended up flying over it, and then like from basically where it was inland to that straight shot to Cambria, we flew directly over my hometown. And I was like just chilling, looking out the window, you know, and I like look down, and I'm like, wait, this looks super familiar. I'm like, oh, there's my grandparents' exit, there's like our only in and out in town in the whole North County. Like, oh, there's my high school, there's where I grew up. And then just kept flying. Next thing you know, we landed this dude's property with these crazy jumps built, and that was like my, you know, like just these things, these steps were just like, and it just, at that point, I was like, you know, obviously I was still racing, and I was still like very focused on racing and training, and
but when
this,
that shit
at this
comes
point,
along,
like living down in Southern California for the most part every other week, and training with Randy Lawrence, and doing everything I could to be, you know, do the damn thing, and but still having that much fun, like, you know, seeing Twitch, just seeing all that, like a hero of mine, and then getting in a helicopter with him and flying to basically my hometown to go ride was like, you know. So there's just like, steps to that stuff, and then next thing you know, I'm still racing Supercross and getting hurt, and then I just kind of just took a back seat on all that, and just decided I wanted to have fun and not spend all the money I'm making to go to the next race. And things just really started happening after that. You know, I'd started, every opportunity that comes, like every open door leads to another open door, and you kind of got to jump at those situations. A lot of times it's not, maybe you might not be that first making money doing it, or you know, getting much out of it, but it speaks wonders. You know, people see that, and being able to jump at certain opportunities, and it's, like I said, it's just kind of a trickle down effect from there.
Dude, I remember there was like points where we were doing a bunch of filming, And I remember there was one day out in the hills, and McGrath was there and Wyndham was there.
The Spy Ride Day.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, where they built the Spy Park,
Yeah,
for
so...
sure. It's still there, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
When was the last time you would have gone out there?
Right after I got hurt.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. Right
when you come back?
Right, that was one of my first days.
Oh, sick.
I rode the track a couple times, and then I went out there, and I went with Durham when he was filming for his real moto. And it was like pretty much dry and shitty and dusty, but we went down and rode right through that spot, and the spot's all still there. I mean, most of it's pretty fucked up, but...
Yeah, you could fix that shit easy, though,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean...
Easy enough.
Yeah. With some manpower, for sure, you could fix it, but it'd take quite a bit of work.
I just remember it was almost like every time you rode with new people, it was like you instantly would like win these dudes respect. I remember there was this one jump out there, and K-Dub was sitting up on the lip with me, and like K-Dub's a bit of a boss in the hills as well.
Boss.
Like
boss
full
everywhere.
Boss. And he like rolled up on the hill where I was shooting. I actually got a frame grab. Jaden, could you look on my Instagram, my personal one? And there's a picture, like it'd be fucking way down, but it's of Bereman at this spot.
I think the two of the best styles in all of motocross from day one, it's definitely Wyndham and Hanny.
And Hanson,
the
for
two,
sure.
like they're just two dudes that just make it look so effortless and so good and so stylish. You know?
Oh, dude. But yeah, Wyndham pulls up on this lip, and it was like literally this shot that I'm like want to show is the shot where I remember. Oh fuck.
Private.
Yeah, I know. I'll turn it off for a sec.
He's turning it off, people. Good thing we're not live.
No, I'll turn off the private sitcho. How do I do that?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Oh, yeah. Alright, now, yeah, refresh it. It'll go down the bottom. But I remember Wyndham, he pulled up on this lip, and he was like, yeah, who the fuck is that kid? And I'm like, Tyler Bereman. He's like, yeah, no, I know, like, who he is. And I'm like, who the fuck is that kid? Like, what, like, where did he come from? Like, how is he this good? And it was just like, I remember basically every time I'd go film and someone new saw you ride, everyone kind of was having that same reaction. And it was pretty cool to see people. It was almost like they were just watching something different. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, that's a trip to me. Like, I just do my thing, man. Just ride my dirt bike, and I don't know. I don't do anything special. I don't think. I just have always just been myself. Just rode my dirt bike and really enjoyed it. And it's crazy that a lot of people that I've looked up to my whole life, I can now call my friends, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's surreal to me, because like even having, you know, however many followers on Instagram and all that stuff, like I could care less about all that, and it's just a number to me. But at the same time, it's like having that many, you know, 200,000 fans or followers on Instagram, like that's crazy to me, because it's all just organic. Like I haven't like bought followers or tried like, oh, I'm gonna do this today because this is gonna get me more followers. It's just like if I got a cool photo or get a cool video on my phone or something, I can post it. But like, you know, and always, I think, you know, being very, very, very fortunate of growing up in that time of seeing MySpace to Facebook and then Instagram starting like right as I was still racing and transitioning away from racing. I mean, it came out basically in what, 2012?
Yeah,
11, something like that.
It was around there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little before then, but I remember being on a KTM and still racing and doing all that stuff. But it just, as I slowly got hurt more and was able to just voice my opinion through that and like tell people like, you know, still just be super thankful to be doing what I am, what I do, and where I am and all that. But like almost used it as basically an outlet. Like it kept me going, you know, those times when I was hurt and I was down. Like I had a couple of sponsors that put some money in my pocket that I could, you know, put food on my table and do that stuff. But it was, I don't know, man, it's crazy just how it all worked out. And you know, being able to, someone that I guess people can relate to, I think what really helps, you know, just like being myself, but like being very passionate about what I do through all the injuries and fighting back. And I don't know, it's cool, man. It's cool to see where it's gone.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there was I wonder if where is this fucking thing? I'm trying to figure out where this is.
Just click on one and see what the date is. Because that was in 2013 when we did that. August 6th, so it'd be earlier than it'd keep going down. It'd be like crazy. It'd be like May, I'd say. Sometime during Supercross, because I was racing Supercross.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost positive. Because I was wearing DC gear.
Gotta be something. Man, Instagram was so gay back then. Like the stuff that you'd post. God, what a trip. Yeah, it's down here.
Yeah, because there's a kid right there.
So see on the bottom left there. Yeah, dude, I remember it was like literally right there. A frame grab from Vurb Moto Excellence Industry, my boy Tyler Bereman. One of the most natural talents I've ever seen on a dirt bike. And that has not gone away. I thought that photo was better. There was like one frame grab I remember.
I remember this week, I rode Supercross as much as I could during the week, and this was a week that it had rained and the Supercross tracks were too muddy.
Yeah.
And I free rode all week. And I made my first main that next weekend.
Really?
I didn't ride any Supercross. I went to the hills every day that week.
No shit.
And shoveled and rode and just had fun. And I made my first main event.
That's pretty cool. What round was that? This is May. It would have been late.
Anaheim. Yeah, this was February.
Oh, February. So Anaheim something.
Yeah, no, it was Anaheim 3, I think, was my first one. But my second race, I was in qualifying position. I threw it away.
Yeah.
And then didn't make it through the LCQ. And then... Anaheim 2, I was going through the whoops and Cunningham was right behind me I had 2 turns to go and I was so tired, like just missed a whoop and went ass over tea kettle. Didn't make that one and I was bummed because I was like, I had it, like yeah. And then I ended up making a couple that year, which I was really stoked on. And we talked about it the other day, like I literally rode Supercross for the first time 2 weeks before Anaheim 1. Coming off an ACL and just like threw myself into it. I don't think I made the first round. I don't think I made the night show. And then the second I went from not making the night show to making the night show and almost like literally lasted like 2 laps to go. I ate shit in like 7th or 8th place. And yeah, it was cool. Just the progression, just see the progression throughout the year of like just throwing myself into it and then like making a couple of mains. It's like, I don't know, it's cool. I don't think a lot of guys that we, I guess, free ride with now. I mean,
no, yeah, you're right. There's
not a lot of dudes that can say they made.
Well, Axel never made a main event. You know, Colby never made a main event.
Yeah. So. And then it's crazy because like you think about it. Like I was mentioning this also the other day. Like I was at X Games and I was down on the floor. And they were doing an interview with me and a live interview in the stadium, not on TV. But they were like, like this is a big stadium, bright lights, a lot of people, like how do you deal with this pressure? And I just looked at the guy and kind of laughed and I was like, like this right here, like this is pressure I can deal with. Like I'm getting to go out and throw whips with my friends and basically put on a show is what we're here to do. But lining up on the main event, on the line of a main event, on a Supercross main event under the lights with 80,000 people in that same stadium, like no pressure can amount to what that is, or at least you can't compare that to going out and throwing whips with your friends. Like there's pressure there, but it's pressure that you can feed off and deal with, and it's like good pressure, like pressure of a Supercross main event, looking over and knowing that you got like Eli Tomac and Jason Anderson and Blake Baggett and all these guys, like just that are just gonna smoke you, like then you're staring up at the lights and then a hot monster chick, like all these things and like so it's like it's definitely a different kind of pressure, but it's all good pressure, I guess. Do
you reckon that racing Supercross at the level you did has helped you with like the competitive quarter and stuff?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I've always been very competitive. I've always wanted to win, but like I'm not gonna let it like, to me, the way I look at it is more losers than winners in this world. So like you can't let it a loss define you. You just gotta go back and keep grinding. But I did way more losing than winning growing up. Like when I was racing local stuff, I would win local stuff a fair bit, but like I got smoked in amateur nationals. You know, I was just looking at it the other day of like
what was that list?
The result, like a
World
results
Minis?
list. It was Mammoth.
Oh,
Shit,
Mammoth.
I don't even know the year. I would have to scroll so deep, but
That's all good. It was like heavy hitter names, right?
Yeah, Villapoto won, and Izzy, and Ben LeMay, and Tommy Week, and Tomac. Or no, I think Tomac was the year below that, but you had like, dude, so many. Just the list. The list goes on and on and on. Cole Seeley and like,
Jason Anderson.
No, Anderson was Tomac's age. Anderson wasn't in it, but you had like Stroop and Josh Hills and all these. Dude, it was insane. Like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So, I got smoked growing up, and then quit for a few years and came back and won a couple nationals, and then like kind of was up in the mix for a minute, and then.
What did you do when you quit? Like, did you not race at all?
No, I just when I quit the first time.
Yeah, racing. Before you came back and won amateurs nationals.
Yeah. I mean, I was just being a kid. So when in 2007, right before that, I had gotten hurt and I broke my humerus on a 120. So I went from an 80 to a 125, and I rode a 125 for like 4 months, and then I got a 250F and sold the 125. I was on the 125, broke my humerus, and then came back from that and got on a 250F. Was riding 250F, like broke my collarbone, knocked myself out, and then came back from that and was riding at a private track and came over a jump, and there was a tractor coming up the landing and I had nowhere to go. Ended up landing on the tractor and snapping my bike in 2 pieces and breaking my tailbone and lungs and internal shit and nights in the hospital, and it was quite the. I thought I was dead, no doubt about it.
That's
there was 100%.
How long were you in hospital?
Just a couple days. I got lucky, like just a lot of fluid internals and stuff like that. Yeah, I got really lucky on that, but I shit myself when I did it because I hit so hard and broke my tailbone and straight up like shit myself. But that was just 3 injuries in a row, and I was just over it. You know, I just wanted to be a kid. Started partying, having fun, being a kid. And I installed hardwood floors for 3 years with one of my dad's installers, and just rode. I mean, I rode all the time. I'd go to Zaca. I'd go ride Santa Maria, like right by there. And yeah, I mean, I continued to ride. I just didn't race really. Just had fun, you know. Just went and rode like in the sand by my house, and just being a kid, man. Just having fun, and enjoying it, and working. And I think that was a big reason why I decided to go put my head back in it, and realizing the value of $1, being on my hands and knees and up and down stairs all day with buckets of glue and things of hardwood. Like I was over it. I just wanted to go back to riding, you know. I was partying, and like friends around me were going down the wrong direction, and I was just like just woke up one day like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, you have this opportunity that my grandfather would be willing to help me ride. Like, why not just do it and try to go race again? And then I did, and ended up doing pretty good, because this whole time, like, you know, I was being a kid. Like, my parents knew I was riding, but they didn't really know. Like, I kind of was like out of sight, out of mind with, like, you know, partying and just being a kid, and like so they didn't really know. They knew like I was just riding, but I just didn't really care to go every weekend to every race, and like, you know, I just was kind of just wanting to ride for fun, basically. So they didn't really know the sides of it, but yeah, and it ended up coming back racing amateur nationals and did all right, and then the next year ended up winning a couple, and then. So
what ones did you win? You won a Loretta's College Boy, right?
Yeah, I think the first one I won was 2000. Shit, was it 2009 or 2008? Lake Whitney. I won a 450B mod title there, and then the following year I won a title at Ponca, and then I think I won. Yeah, I can't remember. I won a couple that year, and then the following year I won Loretta's, and then the next year I was gonna go back to Loretta's as an A. I won like College Boy, and then I got like 8th in 250B mod that year. But yeah, and then I ended up going to the A class, and then the next year going back to Loretta's. I won a couple nationals during that year, but got to Loretta's, and I was like, oh, this is my year. Like, think I can really do good in A class, and I was training with Randy Lawrence, and Randy was there with me, and I felt better than I ever have. I was in crazy shape, but first moto, off the start, I fell in the first turn, or the second turn, and like was, you know, I don't know, I was in 5th or something, had the whole pack behind me, and yeah, I ended up getting ran over, got center punched right between my butt cheeks, and broke my tailbone again. So that was it.
That's a cunt of a bone to break.
I did it twice.
Dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
That and your sternum. Have you ever hurt your sternum?
Yeah, definitely cracked my sternum, pulled some ribs from my sternum.
That one sucks too.
But yeah, and then, dude, the day after that, Randy Lawrence, like, he's like, dude, you got to gut it out. Like, you got to go out there and just see if you can race, you know? Like,
fuck that.
It's either, there's only one way to find out, and just try it. And I literally went out there, and I didn't ride hard, but I finished the moto, but that was the most pain ever, dude.
Really?
Yeah, it was muddy too, and like I was just trying to stand up everywhere, and like when I'd have to sit down, it was just like but I gutted it out, and then I realized I couldn't ride the rest of the week, so that was it. And then the following year ended up because I thought after my title and stuff at Loretta's that first year, and I was like, obviously it wasn't in like such a prestigious class, but I was right there kind of in the mix, and I thought I was going to get support from Yamaha. Thought I was going to get a lot of stuff out of this, and I didn't get shit.
Yeah.
And it kind of just drove me crazy, so I went back the next year, and like obviously then I got hurt, and it was like, fuck, what do I do now? And then got some support from Orange Brigade KTM for the following year. Luckily,
really?
Finally someone like stepped up and wanted me to be on the team, so yeah, I ended up getting that ride, and 3 months into that, I was at a Loretta qualifier, and my 350 blew up the weekend before, so I was racing a 250 in the 250 and 450 class.
Yeah.
So obviously got a bad start in the 450 class, coming through the pack, and the end of the last lap, I was passing the kid for the lead, and he swapped out right in front of me, and swapped into my front tire, and when I was going up to the face of this tabletop, and when I did, it just swapped me, and I put my left leg out and snapped my ACL, and there it went.
Oh.
So then they ended up taking the bikes back shortly after that, and that was my year. That was 3 months into the season, and I wasn't getting 6 to 9 months of recovery time. Like,
yeah, year's done.
I got on the bike 2 weeks before Anaheim won in 2012, and then got a Cowie. Yeah, got a Cowie and rode 2 weeks of Supercross, and then straight into Anaheim won January 4th, 2013.
Dude, that's so gnarly, dude.
Yeah, so it was quite the ride, but the ride I really enjoyed and I appreciate, you know.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be at that level, especially at the time. Like in the 250 class, dude, I had all the guys that are crushing 450 now are all in my class.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it was gnarly, and I know they say it every year. It gets gnarlier and gnarlier and gnarlier, and like, not to take anything away from any of these kids in the lights class now and doing it, but like, it's all those names that are household names now.
They didn't go away.
No, we're proving their point, and they were household names from the get-go through amateurs, and nowadays it's just, I don't know if it's technology and bikes and how tracks develop and how kids have just learned how to just figure it out and do it and work hard, and results happen. Like, it's just crazy. Like, it's not like it used to be of just like knowing like, okay, there's those 3 dudes on the gate, they're gonna pull away from everyone and they're gonna win. Like, now it's just like we were talking about it, any given weekend, top 20 is all in the 450 class is all in the same second. Like, how are you can't call these winners anymore. It's like, of course you can say there's the Roxons and Tomacs and stuff that are going to win or they're going to be there, but it's like in any given weekend you do not know who's going to win. Whoever gets a start and stays out of troubles, then anybody can win.
I think that part of it is the fact that the whole, like, the program is like everybody knows what to do now. There's no, like, I think back when you were racing,
thanks,
like,
Ricky.
Yeah, pretty much so,
yeah,
right?
No,
you know,
no, for sure,
it's
100%.
Like, but now it's like it's so refined now because of what Ricky did, that now like every kid that's on the line knows exactly what to do, right? Such
a structure, yeah. It's but I mean, it's you have to be like that. It's now we're to the point, like these 4-strokes and the races and the tracks and how they're developing because of the technology and the 4-strokes and all this stuff. Like, it's constantly changing and evolving, and kids are just figuring it out, you know. Like, I guess it's with everything though, you got to adapt to whatever the times and changing times. So,
well, that you look at Jet Lawrence, man, like what he did at Anaheim too is unheard of.
Yeah.
When was the last time a 16-year-old kid came in and did what he did, it was probably James Stewart.
How old was AC when he came in? Well, he obviously didn't crush it, but
yeah. Well, I mean, he won three mains his rookie year, but he wasn't 16. He was like 18 or whatever, you know. But like, dude, it's crazy that's even possible.
Yeah,
isn't it crazy to even think that like he has a factory Honda ride with Geico at 16, and they're just like, get on in the big boy, like, well, not the 450 class, but like you're in there with the big boys now, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because I remember seeing him when he was still racing amateurs, but I went out to the California Classic, and it was right when Hunter was coming back from an injury, and pros can race that one too. So Hunter went out there, and it was cool to see them, Hunter and Jet, out there battling together.
Oh,
and
yeah, you were saying about that.
Because Jet didn't get that good of a start, and then Jet came through the pack and kind of caught Hunter a little bit, but kind of you could tell Hunter was like, would turn around and be like, oh fuck no, my little brother's not passing me. And it's like cool to Jet just pushed him through the pack, and they went all the way to the lead, and then Jet ended up going down, and Hunter won. But it was just cool to see that, you know, and it's gonna, I'm sure, mark my words, we're gonna see that for years to come,
dude. That's probably gonna be this year in the Nationals.
Yeah,
like, can you imagine if Hunter and Jet are out front 1 and 2, and they just start like stretching away from the field, just in their own world, just like two brothers having a battle?
It's not going to be easy, but I think
it's possible.
They'll be crushing. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like I said, it's so hard to call a winner these days, man. It's like these kids everyone's just going so fast. It's like scary, honestly.
How did you feel about Kenny getting a win?
Super psyched on Kenny getting a win. I mean, I know obviously his was crazy different and dramatic, and like almost losing his arm and being told that he'd never do what he does again and all that stuff, and just to see like the struggle of that and how well he overcame it, and he never gave up. And that's, you know, something that I can relate to too, like getting hurt and 7 months of therapy and just feeling like, what the hell, like, you know, am I ever gonna be back to how I felt, because my foot's just locked up. And you know, you can kind of relate to that. So just to see like that, just the grind of it, and like, you know, team never give up. He never gave up, and he just always pushed and pushed and pushed. And then just to finally see him get that first win again and get that, like, you know, the monkey off his back. I think he had won a couple motos outdoors, but
I think he won a couple overalls outdoors. But it's different. Like, that's not the thing that took him out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the. That's I was not the horse
standing there watching, like literally directly behind that section when he went down, and I just like, oh, my heart sank for the dude. Like, I knew as soon as I saw him land into like in between the ruts or however it did, and like it. As soon as his front wheel hit that lip, I was like, oh, this is not good. And then it was like, I can replay it over and over in my head. It's like slow motion, dude. It was like devastating to see that, you know, because he's such a good dude, super cool guy, man. Had a few opportunities to ride with him just out in the hills and stuff, and just super cool, man. Super cool dude, man. You know, it's like just bummer to see that happen to good people, but it's really, really cool to see him get that win again. And I think that's what he needed, and some fire him back up, you know. And just having to deal with all the things he went through with the infection and the arm and the other arm. And
then Blake getting hurt.
And then, oh, man. It just... Could
you imagine having to deal with all that, and then your brother-in-law gets fucked up like that? Oh,
just so many things. And it's just like, at one point, do you just say, fuck it? But that's what's so inspiring, that you don't do it, you know?
And, man, like, you get through the first year, you don't win. Then you go through the second year, and then you get pipped at the post and lose in a, like, that loss will go down in history. Yeah. Ken will be like down in history as the closest loser ever in Supercross.
Yeah.
But that's so gnarly. That's just like a little bit of extra just salt, just rubbing it in that wound. And then after that, you don't win.
Yep.
And then you go all through outdoors, and then you've got to do another preseason. You've got to do all that, go through another boot camp, go through all of that suffering to try and come back and get another win. You get waxed at A1. You do a bit better the next weekend. Oh, then you win the... Did he win the second round or the third round? Was it the third round?
Or did he win the second?
Dude, I'm tripping. No, yeah, it must have won the second round.
St. Louis, yeah, because A3.
Yeah, he did. Yes, I'm tripping.
And then what did he get last weekend? Second. Right?
Then he got
second, right? because he's leading the points now. Because he went like 7-1-2.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
points,
Yep.
I believe.
But like, yeah, you get absolutely waxed at A1, and then you win the next weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, that's 3 years of baggage. Just.
It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back up, man.
But how many opportunities would Ken Roxon have had to quit?
Too many.
Like.
Too many.
It's insane, eh?
No, it's yeah, like I said, it's an inspiration to see that, you know.
Dude, were you at Dodgers when Trey Kennard got landed on?
I was, yeah.
That was probably the gnarliest one that I saw. Right? Yeah, by
Morris.
Morris.
Morris was hurt too. They were both weeded.
Yeah, that was probably like the gnarliest. That was one of those ones where you see that. That was at the triple. We were down in like the industry seating, and the triple was right there, and we were just like felt like 20 yards away from it, and then just boom. Like there's some crashes that just like you said, they just make your heart sink.
For sure. But it was cool. Like I think me knowing that how like my road from where I got hurt and almost 11 months later to me winning my gold that I did at X Games, like I you know, not, it's relatable in that fact that I know that up and down through that whole ride of the injury to coming back and that satisfaction or that feeling then when you do actually win, and I couldn't even imagine the feeling Kenny felt for 3 years or however long it was before he finally went back and slayed that dragon pretty much, you know. It's like, I know that feeling all too well just from, like it gave me goosebumps watching it on TV. Like you almost want to freaking cry for the dude because you're just so excited, like so pumped for him, you know. And that's like how just brought me back to that feeling of like overcoming that the injury that I did and then being able to walk away with that gold medal. Like I was put the camera in my face instantly right when they put the medal around my neck, and it's like you're just tried everything you can to do that interview and not choke up, just to realizing like all coming to fruition of what you just went through, you know.
Can you pull up on Tyler's Instagram there's a couple like really epic photos of right after he won. It'd be like way up the top.
Keep going,
like right after he won.
Go down.
Oh yeah, look at the one on the right there. Like, look at that photo, dude. That is just pure emotion. Yeah. That's not like there's no acting in that. That's not like a there for the cameras. No. That is like, as raw. Even when you hug your dad. Even
the first one right here, the first video from the night before when I got second, even just that feeling of like, I was just so excited and thankful to just be back there, just be back under those lights after what I went through. Yeah. That I didn't care where I went, but then to go and be there and be successful and be fighting for wins was just like such a just monkey off my back, just such a pressure cooker just fully lifted off me. Yeah. And you can just see me like, yes, like holding that medal, like, yes. Like,
dude, that gives me goosebumps.
It's like straight up like, yes. But I was so not satisfied. Yeah. Like I wanted to win that, and the next day I was like, okay, like that's my like brush it off my shoulders, like brush that injury off. Now I'm back. I'm here fighting for wins. Like tomorrow I'm gonna fucking win. Like I'm not getting beat tomorrow. You know what I mean? And
so go to that next one. Because then this happens. It's like, fuck man, it's so hard. It's like harder to be happier for somebody. And you were on too, dude. Like look at that shit.
Yeah, I felt good once it was game time. In practice, I was like kind of didn't feel super good, but then as soon as it turned game time, it was like it was on. It was cool because before X Games I'd worked with a mental coach that works for Red Bull High Performance, James Jackson, insanely talented dude at what he does, and he also works with Scotty James and a couple snowboarders and Carson Storch, a mountain biker. So it was cool that he works for Red Bull High Performance, and I had voiced my opinion to Steve that I was kind of getting back to being in a good place of mentally, like riding and all that. And I felt like I was gonna be in fighting or basically fighting shape for X Games. So I voiced my opinion to Steve, like, hey, what do you think about James coming on board or coming down and while I'm getting ready for X Games like the week before and riding quarter and whip and just have a couple days with him and then have him come to X Games and help me out. And it was cool because I've had physical trainers and stuff like that,
but you never had like a mental coach.
Yeah, and no, never. But to just like the mental coach thing, everyone's like, oh, like what, like mental coach, like what does that entail? What does he do? And it's like, don't get me wrong, he doesn't reinvent the wheel. He doesn't do anything. He just breaks everything down and simplifies things for me to basically just get me laser focused. And basically, there's times where I'd be here riding and my head's here. And he'd just pull me back to ground zero, you know, and just little things just get me laser focused when the time came and learn how to control my breathing and stuff like that. So that was huge for me. And you said too that he was like because he was a former athlete that you kind of really like trusted. Yeah, and it's hard to know, like, okay, like I've met him before. I'd met him a couple times before through friends and other athletes and stuff, and just very quickly, but never spent too much time around him. And then, you know, we got in contact and met and talked over the phone, and then he ended up coming down, and it was crazy because you don't really know how that's going to go until you just try it, you know what I mean? And I, like I said, I've never had a mental coach. I've never even thought about it, really. And then was there a part of you that was thinking that if you said you wanted a mental coach, that you were always almost admitting that you had like a mental weakness? Yeah, that I am my own worst enemy. If I get into my head, like I want to go, I want to show up to that line, and I want to know that I'm there to win, and I'm not to sound cocky or anything, but I'm better than everyone else on that line, you know. And that's just not physically. I might not be like, or you know, I might not be a better rider than this guy, but like if I'm in the right mindset and that I know that I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna win, like, and you feel it and you visualize it and you over and over and over again, like it's you know, a lot of times with hard work it'll come to fruition. So right away at first day he got there, it was super cool because it was like I was getting ready to go out and ride, and he came up to me and you know, he asked me a few things about just like about the ramp, and if it's something, like he broke it down, like tell me, like don't lie to me, like is this something that you really enjoy, and just little things. And then, you know, at that time it was like, it was cool, like we were just shooting the shit, and then went out to go ride and started riding, and it was just crazy. He'd just pick up on little things like really quickly, just be very observant, just kind of sit back and just observe things. And I could just, a few jumps in, he pulled me over to the side, and he could just tell like I'm a little too antsy, or I'm trying to, or I'm doing this, doing that. And he just like would tell me, like, you're here and your head's here, like pull it back, bring it back here. What sort of shit do you think like you were thinking about once you started to learn that process? Like why was your mind drifting, or where was it? I mean, it's not necessarily that it was, I don't think that it was drifting. It was just, I don't know. I think if I would have a bad jump, I'd let it get to me. Or if I had, you know, I would like kind of like thinking too much. Yeah. And it's more of just like, just breaking it down and slowing everything down and being focused, you know. It was one of those things, like one time I'd say 5, 10, 15 minutes into the session or whatever, I come down and I had a bad jump, and it frustrated me. Yeah. And I could tell, and I was like in the air, I was like, fuck, you know, and then rode by him, and he like kind of was just like, you know, one of these like standing there. And I rode by him, rode down to the bottom, and I put my bike in neutral, and I like came to a complete stop. Usually I'll just like loop it, you know, and I'm always in my head. I was always like, even before contest or during contest, like before my jump, I'll give myself a good deep breath, like, you know, and kind of just, I don't really know if it was just something in my head that I needed to do to just become. Like I didn't really know why I was doing it. It was just a routine. I was doing it. You know what I mean? Like some like Corey Creed or Twitch or whatever, they do their little wheelie and it, like it was just something that I did, you know, and especially when I got frustrated and I knew like, okay, like just be calm, like. And then I did that and like popped it into gear and did my jump, and then instantly he stopped me and he's like, hey, what'd you just do? And I just told him like it's kind of like threw me off guard. I didn't really know what I did. I just did it because it feels routine. And he like made me think of why I did it and made me take that and amplify it and basically use that as a reset button each time. Like whatever, take that breath, get laser focused, and as soon as you take that breath, you're not thinking about anything else besides just riding off that ramp. And the less you do, the more it becomes, basically. Yeah. So the harder I try, the worse my whips are when I do less and just kind of just...
Well, that even happened the other day at Harry's.
Yeah.
Like your first 3 whips were like the biggest ones you threw all day.
Yeah, the turn-ups the one way, but then I started doing other whips and like getting other whips good, but then it would like throw my one off, and like I think it was just... Yeah, if you just try too hard and like over amplify it, then you end up going the wrong direction. Yeah. But no, it was super cool working with the mental coach too. Like he helped me out a ton, and I know the first night was quarter pipe at X Games, and he was there basically testing with me a couple of days before, and we were testing gearing and multiple things and trying to just get a few extra feet here and there. Yeah. That first night we got there for quarter, and he said, all right, like, and there was things that like we worked together on when we were testing those few days, but then like there was things that he implemented on the day of the comp to like get me laser focused that he didn't want to basically introduce too early. He wanted to just like what like kind of just like almost not shock me, but like shock my brain to being like, okay, like whoa, and then all of a sudden I'm
and then maybe
so
take your
focused.
mind off some of the other bullshit around it too.
Yeah, so basically he told me like that night, like what I want you to do. He's like, I know it's not going to be easy. Is that he actually told me this the day before in practice, but he's like, I know it's not going to be easy, but do not watch one person hit that thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like for me, like that's so hard. Like I feed off my friends, feed off of that sometimes. But when it comes to something like quarter pipe, that's not something that you need to feed off of. I guess you could feed off of someone else, going higher than you or whatever, but just to watch them do it and try to change the way you do it to match how they're doing it to get to that height is not how you want to do it. You want to just stay in your lane. Yeah. But just stay focused on how you did it and everything, and push, sinking your heels, like giving yourself a good pull up, like a lot of different things, turning your head, like just making sure you're just like on point and laser focused on your technique, and just keep pushing yourself each time. Like, of course, when I was sitting there and I'm not watching them, like I can hear them coming into the ramp, I can hear them leave the ramp, I can hear how long they're in the air, but I'm not watching physically how they're doing it and trying to reinvent the wheel and change how I'm doing it to get to that, and that was really tough the first couple of days, or even the night of the comp, like watching or not watching anybody, and like literally just having to sit there, like, to keep my heart rate at bay and like keep it like calm down, and then like just straight up just like focus in on like a rock or a dirt clod or something on the ground in front of me and just be laser focused and just replaying that over and over in my head, just technique and all that, so that was really cool to get through that, and each time I got high, I think now that I look back on it, I wish I would have came out swinging a little harder, because that was one really good thing that Corey does. He comes out swinging right off the bat, and I knew that I had a jam style format and I could like start and just get into a flow, and each time give it a little more to the point to where you're basically maxed out on second gear and maxed out in second gear on the throttle. So, each time just basically feeling the progression of it, feels higher to my last jump, and then I ended up getting Colby for second. Like, I was psyched. Obviously, you can see the look on my face. I was pumped to get that medal, but in the end, back of my mind, I was like not satisfied. You know what I mean? Super pumped to be back there, but not satisfied. Did
you have any idea who was gonna win that, or did you think that you could have won? Like,
yeah, I think for sure it's one of those things. Like, we can all win. I think on any given day with a little hard work. Like, Corey, I think
because Corey obviously has like a perfect season with it.
Corey has a perfect season, but it shows. Like, he put in the work, and it showed. Like, he tested, he did everything. Like, he showed up, and he came out swinging every single time. And like, that was that. It set the tone. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm trying to work my way up to it, but it's the biggest mental battle to go out there and be cold and not hit that thing a few times, to just go into it and just fucking give it everything you got. Like,
so you think Corey's pretty gnarly for that?
Oh, absolutely. It's gnarly. It's super gnarly. But I was doing it differently. I worked my way up to it, and by my last jump, I felt good. But then, you know, I had the talk with James afterwards, like, I should have got going a little quicker. I should have done this, should have done that. And like, he's like, hey, and right, don't get me wrong, it's not like he was like, oh, you got second, like, you fucking suck tonight, you know? It was like, dude, good job, congratulations. First and foremost, like, give me a hug, like, you're back on this level, you're back at the stage, like, you just got your medal. But he's like, look at me in the eyes. He's like, are you happy? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm happy, but like, no, I'm not at all. I want to win. And he's like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. He's like, you're like, tomorrow night, he's like, do me a favor. I want you to watch every single one of your friends jump, and I want you to feed off that. I want you to go out there, and I want you to, like, right away, I want you to feed off of it. I want you to you know, to go out there and win everyone over right away, basically. So that was the thing. I feed off the crowd and feed off the energy, and go out there and watch my homies hit the jump and feed off of it. And
so how was the first night when you didn't watch them? Do you think that's the move? Like, is that something that you're going to do from now on in quarter?
Yeah, same exact thing I did at Nitro quarter, same exact thing I
so
did
you've done that all year.
Norway quarter.
And you think it works?
I mean,
you're comfortable with it, I guess. That's all that really matters.
I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I couldn't tell you if it works or not, because the years prior, like the first year that I went and Colby got me, like, I was before Colby and Colby was after me, so like, he had that last opportunity to just go for it. And the year before, when Axel won, like, what place? Colby got second. Him and Axel were going back and forth, but it was like, I was watching it every time, but I mentally, like, watching it, I just thought I had myself beat. You know, they had me beat, and that was because I'm my own worst enemy, and I was thinking about it too much. But it's like, remembering how you can do it, knowing that you're in the ballpark there, and just do all the right things, and make sure your timing and your technique's good, and give her the berries. But
how do you think that then the whip thing, like, you liked watching the other dudes? Because
I've always done that, like, you know, like me and Axel riding together, like, I love riding with him, and like, when we feed off each other's energy, you know what I mean? And it's always been, I haven't had too many quarter pipe contests, obviously. Like, the first year, the 3 X Games years, and 1 year of Nitro Cup, or Nitro World Games, I've had 4 quarter pipe contests, and that's it, my whole career. And you know, the first one, it was like I said, Colby was after me, so he had that, like, he watched me and he knew where I was at, and he just went balls to the wall on that last one and went huge, and he got me by however much he got me by. And then the second year was more like knowing that those 2 dudes, Colby and Axel, had rode quarter pipe leading up to that, and I was seeing their Instagram videos and seeing all this stuff, and like, mentally, they had me beat 100%. I went into that knowing, like, okay, I got a medal tonight, but I'm getting third. You know what I mean? And that's not where you want to be going into something like that. So they mentally had me beat, and that's like how I was with racing. I'd show up on the line, and I'd look down and see like Tomac and see Baggett and those guys, and I'm like, I'm beat. Mentally, I'm beat, you know? So that was one huge thing for me with having a mental coach, was just believing in yourself, really.
What do you think would have happened if you had a mental coach, like, with racing? Do you think it would have, not like where would you have ended up, but do you think it would have helped you in that racing thing? Or
I don't know, give or take. It's tough, because I knew what I was up against. Like, you know, when I was, you know, really good friends with Darren, and like, I was able to spend a few laps on Darren's PC bike one time, and like, shot myself in the foot right there. Like, this is what I'm up against. And at that point, like,
dude, that's heavy.
And at that point, I always had myself mentally beat because I had that one break that I did. I won Loretta's, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get, like, can't wait to get home. Like,
the phone's
Yamaha's gonna call me, like, the phone's gonna ring, and I didn't get one phone call. I didn't get shit. So it was like, to me, it was like, if I'm, you know, I just mentally had myself beat the whole time.
Like, what have I got to do?
What have I got to do? Like, I just won that. Like, all these, like, I was never handed any of this my whole life. Like, I was racing locally, and yeah, my parents helped me and all this stuff, but, like, I never had those big deals and sponsors, and, like, I was so fucking pumped to go on Sponsor House and get 50% off from Smith Goggles. You know what I mean? Like, luckily, like, thankful for my family and my grandfather specifically. Like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, because that he was the man that funded the whole thing. My dad and my mom, like, they couldn't really afford it, you know? So, yeah, man, it's just one of those things. Like, I was never handed anything. I was always kind of, like, earned it. And then I got to the point where, like, okay, I think I can do this, and I was fighting for it and kind of up in the mix, but didn't get anything from it. And then the one opportunity that I did have with KTM, like, I ended up getting hurt, and then they needed the bikes back, which totally get it. That way I had a 1-year deal, and my year was shot. So that, you know, they gave the bikes back. Totally get it. But it was just, at that point, I was mentally beat. Of course, this is what I worked my whole fucking life for, to go race and go line up on a Supercross, you know, starting gate. Like, and I did it, and I fulfilled those dreams and those things, but I always was mentally beat. Like, I knew lining up on, like, which, you know, it's work ethic, if it's this, it's that, but, like, I was just so freaking pumped to just make a main event at that time. Like, that there was so many guys, so many gnarly dudes riding. I was just pumped to not only be there, but to, like, to make a main. Like, that was my accomplishment, you know, for the night. Like, I made the main, sick. Like, I'm gonna get 17th to 20th tonight, fuck yeah. You know. But I made the main, and that's what mattered, you know. And so, I don't know, I just think it was a majority of things, and I think if some things went differently, then I could have maybe done something with it, or if I took it a little more serious, or worked a little harder. I mean, I mentally had myself beat off the bat, and then to have the injuries and riddled with injuries along with it is like, you know, just. But
I mean, too, though, like, you're a dude that can enjoy a good time.
Yeah.
And it's like, for whatever reason, you've always been that way. And it's like, a dude like Dunge, he isn't a good time. Like, he's a super rad dude, but he's not a good time. Like,
he's probably a good time now that he's retired.
Probably nowadays. But you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't like a dude
I totally get it.
That was chasing a good time at Loretta's.
He was so focused on his task in hand, which is commendable by all means. Like,
it's just different lanes.
It's just different. Yeah, it's different lanes for sure. And it always brought me back to, like, when I was mentally beat like that, and going and racing and trying to, you know, making some money, and, like, making your money back on a Supercross night to go to the next race is, like, it's just, it's not that fun after a while, you know? And then just mentally, like, after coming back from injuries, and then obviously all this whole period of time is all Instagram's just growing and growing and growing, and that's a huge, I mean, I wouldn't say a negative, but it's one of those things that, like, you're hurt and you're seeing all this stuff on Instagram and all these people post and these kids progress, and you're just sitting there stuck, hurt, and, like, nothing you can do about it, and, like, you just start to second guess yourself, like, do I still got it? Do I got this? You know what I mean? So it's just having that mental battle of just, like, the ride up and down, up and down, up and down, and then to just ultimately to the point you self-destruct and you give up. And it's not that I gave up, but I just took a back seat on racing and decided to have more fun, and things started happening. Fortunately, I got into a couple whip contests, and things started happening from there, and away she went. It
was interesting with, like, the way that you were ending racing, and then it was like that whole free ride thing started happening, but not the free ride thing, the Instagram version of the free ride thing. And it was like you and Axel, I mean, you were probably like the first one to really like try and do that as like a young kid that didn't have, so like Twitch and those boys, they sort of had their own following. They were already these household names, and then it was like they were switching over to this new thing, which was like Instagram and getting clips. Whereas your come up was in that in the middle of that, and it's like you were probably the first one. I
think you could say me and Axel were, but Axel was still racing at the time. And it's not that that year of 13, like I just quit racing. Like I've still tried to race. That whole time I was free riding, I was still trying to race. You know, I was just riddled with injuries. Like I raced Supercross 2013, and I got hurt at the first outdoor at Elsinore. Right after that in 14, tore my ACL, and then came back from that, and I did one national that year, I think. I did Hangtown, and I did two. I did Hangtown and Glen Helen, and I did Colorado. And I made Hangtown, made Colorado, didn't make Glen Helen. And then what was it right after that? It was Mammoth 2014. I compounded my femur.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, and then I was off for like 7 months from that. And like, you know, each injury I had was like 6 to 7 months at a time.
Yeah.
Like blocks, like half a year is completely gone.
Yeah, so you're like you're like actually working at your career 6 months.
But like you were saying, coming up in that lane of Instagram, I was thankful that these times where I was hurt, I was stacking enough content or photos or whatever, like those times when I was riding, that I could kind of ride the wave through my injuries, which was amazing, you know. And like certain couple key sponsors like DC Shoes and stuff back in the day, like if it wasn't for that, like I wouldn't have been able to keep this afloat, you know what I mean?
Well, it's crazy that those days of DC, because I was doing a bit of filming stuff for DC then, Nate Hawley probably couldn't tell you what position you got in a main.
Yeah.
Like he didn't give a fuck.
No. That was the thing, even for my sponsors too, knowing where I came from and how I'm running my program. Like it's such an accomplishment for me just to make the main, because I'm not that guy that should be making mains, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But they can't. It was interesting that it was like you were the first sort of era of dudes in the social media world where it was like, look, man, go do the racing thing, but just please post dope shit on Instagram. Be a part of our videos. YouTube was blowing up. The Vurb thing was blowing up. And it's like, that was that first wave of like, dude,
the Vurb thing had already blown up, and
massive,
and the fire was put out, I
Yeah,
guess.
true. I guess it sort of was kind of dying off a little bit there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't put out at all. It was still going. But
do you remember seeing the Instagram thing start to happen and like what you thought of it? And like,
absolutely.
Do you remember when it was, and like was there like a clip?
I remember the first. I remember verbatim to this day the first Instagram photo that I posted. It was like I was riding for KTM at that time, and it was just like my roller coaster of a racing career basically at that time. But that whole time was free ride in between, and do all that stuff. But yeah, it was like I said, it was just one thing after another, and injuries and stuff, and then like going back to breaking my femur, I was off for so long for that, and then come back and right before what was after my femur, I think. Did you do an
ACL?
Yeah, well, I did. Let's see. I did a second. I did my third ACL. It was the first. Yeah, so that was the first national when I did my ACL was in 14, or no, was that 15? Man, they all blend together.
Yeah,
but I did my femur, came back from that. Or no, I did ACL, then femur. Like ACL, a few months on, femur, few months on, ACL again.
Yeah.
Slipped a peg on a knack in 2015 at one of the Fest series. Did my ACL again. So at that point, that was my whole, basically all 14 and 15 season wiped clean. I had two nationals that I did, and that was it, you know. And then 16, got back on the bike not too long before I did the East Coast is Toast thing.
Yeah,
Because I got hurt in May and then, or April. I got hurt on 4/20, April 20th. But I left, so I got hurt on that day, and then, it was 8 months off, and then right back into it. And then I started riding a little bit again, free riding, and doing that stuff, and then hopped back into Supercross in 16, and again, like, was not prepared, I don't think, and at that point was just not really in it. Like, I was having way more fun riding and free riding and having fun than I was racing, you know. So I did that 16 year, and at that point, like, I'd gotten hurt a couple times throughout that season, just ribs and a couple crashes. Ended up making one main that year in 16, and then that was basically the end of my racing career. Turned into me getting earned my way into best whip at X Games through Monster Cup, and then my first year of X Games was 17, and then just kind of steamrolled from there.
Well, you were doing I don't think that many people know that you were doing a lot of stuff when, like, Moto did the aircraft deal, and a lot of, like, you've worked on just a ton of film projects, so like, you'd kind of just be like this dude helping out, right? That's like a huge part of my path as well, was having, you know, that whole DC program that I did, and like just being able to meet Moto and like a hero of mine, and then become friends with him, and then ultimately be able to get the call to come help him on some of these projects. Like the one I did was his aircraft project. That was literally like the reason why I only rode 2 weeks Supercross 2 weeks before Anaheim won that year. Oh, because you were working on that.
Was because I was with him in December working on that.
So everyone's at test tracks and you're fucking jumping over planes.
Jumping over planes on a freestyle 450 bike that I've never hit a freestyle ramp on a 450 or anything. So I was basically his camera bike operator. I followed him off all the jumps and did everything there, and just being on set like that was super big for me, just to be able to see how it all works, you know, and see his work ethic when it comes to having a vision and making it happen. So that was a huge step in the right direction for me too, with content and being able to create all this stuff, and then just watching him succeed in everything that he did and all his content that he made, and being able to do that was unbelievable. So that was a huge step in the right direction for me, as well as you could go either way. There's a step in the right direction for my free ride career. There's a step in the wrong direction for my racing career, you know. But I mean, everything happens for a reason, and I think that's I've kind of made it into my free ride career. It's something that I put on a pedestal, and it's something I'll never take for granted, and it's something that I gotta pinch myself every fucking day that I get to wake up and ride a motorcycle. It's like, just my path to get here to this point was just crazy, you know. And just the fact of now I'm like, the hat I get to put on my head every day, and like the people I have around me, and like the heroes that I now get to call my friends. It's just, man, it's like, can't write this script, you know.
Sorry guys, Jaden had to take a pee break. We're back. What were we talking about? I feel like with that whole situation of you said it earlier, but you were the guy that just said yes to every situation. And I just wonder, man, like, maybe there was just this subconscious part of you that felt bad that you invested all of your life into racing, and you just didn't want to quite let go of the racing dream. But fuck, bro, you sabotage your racing dream at every step of the way to do the free ride thing. Like, any dude ever would like not do any free riding in December, especially like riding a camera bike in one of Robbie Madison's ridiculous films. And it's like, you did everything that you could to almost like sabotage the racing. But it's like, obviously you must have loved it so much that you just couldn't let go.
Yeah.
But you were sort of doing everything that you could, and you were making a name for yourself, and it was like, you were making steps to be the guy that you are now.
Yeah, it's like I said, man, it's crazy. It's something that I gotta pinch myself and never take it for granted. Like, I just did my thing. And like even now today, like the Instagram following and stuff like that, it's just all just like, it's just so cool to me because I never changed who I was. I never did anything different. I just kept grinding on what I enjoyed to do, and that was ride a dirt bike and have fun. And the reason why I ride a dirt bike is to have fun. And you know, at one point racing was fun to me, but it got to the point where it wasn't fun, and then I figured out how to have fun again, and it's just things have happened. And like, you know, it's just still to this day, man, it's crazy. Like just walking around here and like have, you know, people here in Oz, like all the way across the world, and people be like, oh, like TV, what's up, like you're here, like that's just crazy to me. Like, you know, I'm just a kid enjoying what I do, riding my dirt bike, and the fact that like I get those, like me and Jaden were driving yesterday coming back from the doctor, and I still have the direct message like request, I think, but it's yeah, the kid saw me driving around in your truck with the bike in the back, and was like, oh, like TV sighting in Oz, you know. And it was just like shit like that. So, man, it's just, I don't know, it's crazy to me. It's something that's like, so it's like I put on a pedestal forever, and I'll never shy away from anybody. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's, if someone comes up and like tells me that they're stoked on what I do, and they're, you know, like they're a fan of me, or they want to take a picture or whatever, anything like that, like for one, that's fucking crazy still to me, but for two, like that's what I do and why I do it. If I can inspire someone to go have fun and like not take this shit so seriously, because like it's like life, like we're not getting out alive anyway, so it's like, why take shit so seriously, you know?
It's crazy to fucking have. I
mean, I get that to a point, you know what I mean? Like, it's all about, everything's about a balance, but.
No, I know what you mean. It's crazy to, like, the fact that just your natural talent on a bike, like, me and Harry are standing there on the landing when you just straight jump the ramp for the first time, and we both looked at each other at exactly the same time. We were just like, this motherfucker, like just with a straight jump. Yeah. And then when we went to the sand track and like I was standing with Jaden, it was like the first thing you did. Just, it's the, like the way that you ride, and it's your natural thing. Like you're not trying to just, you're riding your bike, how you ride your bike. But just that to dirt bike people can inspire a feeling inside you where you're like, fuck, you just get so pumped.
Yeah, it gets you pumped, makes you want to ride.
It's crazy.
Try to emulate it.
But isn't it crazy that that's a thing? Yeah. And it's like, but that's why you get paid, man, because like there's not that many dudes in the world that can inspire that feeling in people with their ride. I don't fucking do that.
For sure.
When I go around a track, I ain't inspiring people. But it's so rad that, I don't know, man, it just comes from like you just literally being yourself.
And I mean, to me, you know, not to take it away from that at all or anything, but like if you look at Axel, like that is like the perfect picture of what you just said. Like he makes everything he does on a motorcycle look so stupid good, and look at it, like kid's almost at 1 million followers. He's like, he's got more followers than Jeremy fucking McGrath, Ricky Carmichael. Like that is insane. These dudes that have literally paved this way, not necessarily for us, but for so many people for years to come. Like it's just so crazy to me. Like, you know, and like the only two riders that have more followers than him would be Travis Pastrana and Kenny Roxon. I don't think, unless you could say
yeah, you're right.
Reedy. I mean, I think
Chad's only got like 800K.
Ooh, Reedy 953 for Reedy, and
what's
Axel is 954.
Damn,
got him, dude. Got him. Think about that. Reedy's been racing.
Chad is struggling to outrun Axel Hodges.
But yeah, that's just like
crazy.
That's literally like you were just saying. Like, just it's so crazy when people, you can see something that looks so cool and so effortless and stuff like that, and then it just inspires a whole generation, you know.
Well, dude, like when I rode yesterday, I didn't do any motos or try and do anything fast. Like I was just working on technique. I was like, I'm fucking so keen to be able to ride like anywhere near as good as Tyler Bereman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna fix that camera real quick. Oh, like, But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it's super cool. And the thing that you said about that you never changed, I showed a video of I showed the Eastbound and Down Under video of you and me to one of my best mates, and he's like, dude, you know what the coolest part about that video is like, you're the same dude. You sound the same. The like everything
it's
you do.
Funny because honestly, I haven't watched that Eastbound and Down in years, man. And when you put it in the beginning of that video and I heard it, I was like, whoa, dude, I sound the same. It's crazy. Because, you know, no one likes to hear themselves on camera. Like, it drives me nuts to, like, have to go back and watch clips and listen to myself, especially my dumbass laugh. Like, it you know, just enough to drive yourself crazy, but it's just crazy. Like, when I thought that exact same thing when I sat down and you showed me that clip. I was like, holy shit, I sound the same. And I was fucking 18-year-old kid. It's crazy. Yeah,
and it's not even... it's not even like the sound of your voice. I think it's like... And
the way I talked about the trip.
Exactly.
And it's just...
And that's exactly to what you said. Like, you just never changed, dude.
Yeah.
You did... And I know, like, I was there fucking 10 years ago. And it was cool. I'd never thought of myself in that context of... Because you always think, like, whenever you're on camera and stuff, you're like... Okay, am I being like genuinely me? Am I changing? Am I being of like a fucking shit version of myself?
For sure.
And I can hear, like, I had this dude Greg Rust on the podcast a little bit ago, and there's just something about that dude, like the way, like the tone of my voice, like the way that I was talking to him. I was like, damn, that's like the best version of me. That's like that's a really good, that's a good version of
am I that version every day of my life? Absolutely not.
I know,
but I wish I could be.
And it's for sure. It's crazy, but I watched that, when I saw that clip, I was like, man, I actually feel seeing something from 10 years ago where I wasn't on camera. Like, that was the first probably time I'd ever even been on a camera. And to go back, and see that, I was like, dude, I kind of act the same. Like, I feel like I'm still me, even though now, like, so much stuff is different.
Just the same dude, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was saying to you before, like, one of the days on the trip too, that I think, like, one of the things I realized watching that trip with you is that you're one of my friends that reached their full potential. And it's like, you were probably a guy what I thought could have fucked it all up. Like, any day you wanted. Any fucking day you wanted.
Probably not the only one that thought that either.
And but it's like the same with me. It's the same with a bunch of people, you know? It's like, it's so easy to fuck it up. And when you have all of the talent and all of the potential and everything that you have, it's even easier to fuck it up.
Yeah.
But then to get to this point, 10 years on from when I first met you, and to look at, if you said to me 10 years ago, hey, fill out like a bit of one paragraph of like what the fucking best thing Tyler Bereman could be doing in 2020, and it's like, you're fucking doing it. And it's really, really, really cool to see that, because you don't see that often in people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, man, we keep talking about it. It's just like, I don't know, it's crazy. Just a trip to me, like, you know, like, it's hard to even put it into words, like how thankful I am to be in this situation and just be here 2020 and all the things that in the last 8-9 months of my life, from getting back from my injury, and how much I've experienced in just that short time. And even my injury, like, it's not the break that I wanted, but maybe the break that I needed. I sold my apartment and bought a house and grinded, learned a lot more about my body, and literally just tested my will in every way possible of, like, you know, doing this and why I'm doing it, and you know, putting my best foot forward, no pun intended, and literally just trying to do everything I can to get back to the situation. And that's, I know we had talked about it before, but this last year, from when I got back from my injury, like, I took advantage of every absolute situation or opportunity that arose, because I had spent the last 10 months off the bike, and like valuable time for sponsors, and we all know that, like, what we do, like, this is not going to last forever. So we got to take advantage of these situations in these times. And when there's times where you're out for almost a year at a time, it's like you're missing a window, you know? 'Cause like, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna last forever. So it's just those things, like you're trying to not only do it for yourself, like take advantage of these situations and put yourself in all these, you know, open doors to lead to other open doors, but to like, you know, make other people happy, like sponsors, and of course, which is, you know, it's something that you don't want to do it to make someone else happy, but at a certain point, this is our job and this is what we have to do. We have to make other people happy or do what our contracts say and these things. So it's, you know, it's multiple things, but anyways, like you're just taking advantage of these situations it's helped me so much. It's opened up so many doors, and like it's the last from basically a month before X Games when I started building my quarter pipe, like my compound thing down at Chalka Mountain Ranch, where I basically just, they have the ranch and they have everything there already, but I put my quarter pipe and ramp there. Like from that point on, I've been home maybe 4 weekends up until the first week of December. And it was just like, I don't know, it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it for a thing, because it
but
was,
you were really putting in real work.
I was putting in work, you know, and I needed to do that to basically reach or get to where I needed to be for sponsors and bonuses and you know, certain things and numbers that I needed to get to keep this thing going. So I did everything I could, and just stoked I did, because it opened up a lot of doors, and there's more, just things just keep falling into place. Like things are happening, and you know, certain situations and trips and yeah, just like riding the wave, man. It's crazy. Just like I found myself being hurt a year and a half ago, and then just not too long ago I was at Art Basel in Miami riding my dirt bike on a 7-story building, hitting a 75 ramp on top of a 7-story building in downtown Miami. Like there was, yeah, it's just crazy. Just, I don't know where a dirt bike will take you, and the path that I'm on. I'm thankful to be here and doing these crazy things, and thankful for all the situations that got me here, like Instagram and just being hurt and grinding through that. And I don't know.
Well,
I feel like I'm beating a dead dog or like talking in a circle about it, but that's how thankful I am about just being here and being able to do this. Like riding out of the sand track, Andy on the back the other day, I was just riding and he was like filming over my shoulder with his phone, and I just like turned over my shoulder and looked at him like, man, this is fucking crazy. I mean, I'm literally across the world right now riding my dirt bike. Like it's just
and like even cooler, dude, you met Andy that day.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 hours later he's on the back of a bike, and you're like sharing a sick moment. Yeah, so it's cool, man. I feel like you definitely matured a lot when you got hurt and you had to do that rehab. And I remember being surprised at how hard you worked at the rehab stuff. Like you were in there legit every fucking day. And it's like, I know that that's not easy, because where Red Bull is, like, that's not where your house is. That's an hour and a half away. So for you to be there as much as you were, that's a crazy level of commitment. And you obviously mature so much when you go through something like that.
Yeah, I mean, just when it comes to that, like, it's like I said, it's a test of your will and character in every way possible, and being hurt and getting through the first initial phase of like being sad and bummed, and then, you know, every step of the way to being able to start walking, to then having to crawl your way back. Like were you not having painkillers either? No, so they gave me painkillers here when I got hurt. They gave me, because I mean, we had talked about it on the podcast last time, but my experience in the hospital, like, it was crazy. It damn near put me over the edge. So it was, I don't like that feeling. So and just past experiences and hometown stuff and friends that losing their life to battles with opiates and stuff like that. It's just, I don't like them. So they gave me like 20 oxys down here or something, and I'm pretty sure I still have 2 of them. Yeah. And within that first week, I
Well, you do need shit at
well,
that
yeah,
point.
the very beginning, it's like you can't. You're.
But then to go through all of your rehab, like that whole process of, you know, when you're out of like the acute hospital shit, like you did the whole comeback like without any painkillers.
Yeah, I did the whole thing. Like I said, the last painkiller I took was on the plane on my way home.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's gnarly.
Yeah, I thankful for Red Bull like making me as comfortable as possible on that flight back, and I got business class or first class or whatever that I was able to lay down, but the boot that they had me in wouldn't fit in the thing where your feet sit. So I just struggled to get comfortable for the whole 14 hours, and I think I ate 4 of those things on the plane just to try to sleep, and I slept maybe 2 hours of the 14.
Ugh.
So it was quite the hectic ordeal, but then just getting home after that, and yeah, I just didn't touch them. It's over it.
But I mean so just it's like a crazy work ethic to come back from that and then to do it like, I mean, I don't even know if that sounds like a big deal to people, but to me, that's like a fucking pretty big deal to go through like that gnarly of a rehab. Like your foot is fucked.
Yeah, and
like, you still have a limp from it.
And it's like I almost lost my life in the whole situation. Like everything about it, like the whole process was so gnarly, and it's still something that I struggle with to this day. Like the hardest part of my day is putting my shoes and my boots on when I go ride. You know, that's the hardest part of my day because my shit's just stiff, and I did months and months and months and months. I grinded, but like that whole situation, you know, getting hurt and having to overcome that first mental battle of like the depression of it, and then
did you get pretty depressed through that stuff?
Yeah, it's so bad. Like you know, at first when I was here, it was like okay, like it just happened and it's not bad. But then you get to a point where you're, you know, I was like I told you the other day, I'm 5 months in and still have a cast on my foot on crutches. Like can't walk into the grocery store and like grab something. Can't walk into the store and walk out with a soda in my hand. Like, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. Like I know it could be far worse. I don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it sound like I'm bitching at all, but like it sucks, dude. Walking around on crutches that long is not fun. You start to get over it. You get pissed off at everybody and everything around you, and you know, and at the time, like, I'd just the whole situation, the trip, and then coming back, and then I'd gone through a breakup, and like just so many things happened, and I was just so like just over it. But at that point, it's almost like use it as motivation, you know?
Is that pretty much what would like your only option at that point?
It's the only option, and at that point, like, you know, it was cool because it happened in September. The first couple months was, you know, just trying to do everything I can just kind of stay off of it, and I kind of just like sat there and played video games for a couple months and like just didn't really do much, and then I got to the point this whole time when I was doing that, like in just basically chilling, is when I sold my house and was like dealing with all the paperwork with realtors and stuff and trying to get approved for a loan for a new place, and then selling the house and doing all that and selling the apartment. And then having to deal with all that, and then literally like as soon as I moved in to my new house, like right after that I moved in, I think in first week of February, so that was like my 4 months of where I had a cast on. I was going up to Red Bull like once a week or twice a week, and they would kind of excuse me, they kind of keep me like stretching and stuff and you know, wiggle my toes and kind of more of just like keeping me in good spirits, really.
That makes sense, eh? Like that's probably just maybe more as
just
important
hearing the right things and being around the right people does wonders.
Chris Bryan the other day was kind of like that, you know. Yeah, like he kind of really gave you a pep talk, and like you felt like your spirits were lifted just from like hearing what he had to say about the situation. Yeah, and it's just certain people that like lift you up in a bad situation like that, and especially being at the Red Bull facility and the high performance gym and all that. Like, plus you're still new to Red Bull, really.
Yeah, and I was still new, but you always hear about how well they take care of their athletes when it comes to especially situations like that. And unfortunately, until you experience that, then you get to see firsthand how it's the things they don't put in writing, you know?
Yeah, really.
So
So like that stuff is just above and beyond.
It's just being there and being in that and having those people to uplift you. But then not only that, having other action sports athletes that are in there doing rehab for other things or in there training by any means. Like, you know, you have so many different genres of action sports and sports in general that come through that gym, and it's inspiring.
Dude,
to
I've
say
been
the
in
least.
that gym with Blake Griffin.
Yeah, see, it's crazy.
So gnarly.
It's nuts. So yeah, just like that, like once a week, you know, I'd go up there and do that. But then, you know, once I had moved into my house and kind of got situated a little bit, then it was to the point where I'd got my cast taken off, and then I got a walking boot, and I was in a walking boot for about a month. I was in it for 2 months, but I was in a walking boot on crutches, like walking with the boot for a month. And at that point is when I started going to therapy, like at Red Bull, at the high performance gym. I was going basically 4 days a week. I would go up there, and you know, it's coming. I'm not, you know, if you've ever been in California and you know that drive from Temecula to Venice is fucked, because you have to go right, head through straight downtown LA and then all the way into Santa Monica. And it sucks. So I mean, I was the first few months I was, you know, I mean, that pretty much the whole time Steve had lived in Long Beach for a little bit, and then once he moved back to Venice, it was cool because then I had someone that was close and somewhere to stay, and like, you know, I would still stay in hotels. He would put me up in hotels sometimes, but it was just nice to have homies there, you know, just people to like. I'd get done at the gym because it was four days a week for months and months and months, and I just, for the first few months, I was just getting an Airbnb or staying at a hotel, and it was just like that was my life, dude. Like, just drive up there on a Monday, get there in the afternoon, go to the gym, like work with the physical therapist for a bit, sit in like all the machines that they have, and like do the hyperbaric, or not the hyperbaric chamber, but the cryotherapy thing, and they have like a float tank, and they have an F1 simulator. Like, I would log like an hour a day on the F1 simulator. That's sick. I just had nothing else to do, so I just spent all my days in the gym, just chilled, like, you know. And it was cool because and that whole time was super inspiring for me, just to have other athletes, you know, all the skate guys and all the snowboard guys and some ski dudes and some to Olympic fencers, to fucking divers, to F1 athletes, to fucking anything you could think of, BMX, mountain bike, like everything, you know. Dude,
I bet too that like you signed the Red Bull deal, did Farm Jam, blew that shit up, and then get hurt, and it's like, I can't even imagine how bad you would have wanted to come back from the injury just because you're a Red Bull athlete now.
And you know, and that's the thing, like having basically,
because you know you've got everything there, right? Yeah. Like, you've got no excuses.
I had signed my first deal, signed a 2-year deal, and then basically have 6, 7, 8 months or however long I did as an athlete, and then just like that whole entire basically second year or year and a half, however long it was just like basically wiped clean. So like I said, when I got back on the bike in right before X Games, it was just wide open, because that was the last few months that I had on my first year, or my first 2-year deal. So I had to finish that 2-year deal, and like I had to finish with a bang. I had to basically take advantage of all those open doors and put myself in these situations to keep myself relevant, you know, just because I know the prestigiousness of having that and like all that stuff, you know. You don't want to fuck it up, you know. And not that you should be putting pressure on yourself and you think like that, but just, you know what I mean.
And coming back from an injury is like something that's in your control.
Exactly, and it's as long as you do everything that you can and put your best foot forward, again, no pun intended, and take all the right steps and do the right things. Like, if you're putting in the effort, then they see it, you know. And that's what I did. I mean, I gave her everything I had just to get back, and as soon as I got back, and by any means, I'm still not where I was, or never will be where I was before with my foot. Like, how it is I, you know, it might not ever be better, but it's it's totally tolerable now, and I'm able to do most things, and if I had to run, I could. Not very long.
I had to run.
but
which I won't.
But yeah, just certain things, like, I don't know, just cool to just see, like, just have that whole program behind me, and then just how much it taught me and made me grow. So this whole, like, where we had started with this before I started rambling, but it's, you know, it's just that whole,
it's just such a
the whole thing is just
process.
such a learning process, and it's just it taught me so much. You know, it just made me, like you said, it made me mature a bit, and appreciate why I do, like, what I do and why I do it, and not, you know, take these things for granted, you know, and just, like,
that whole, like, what you were saying about being relevant, that's kind of what's weird in your world, is because, so Cooper Webb is relevant because he won the championship last year, and Jason Anderson's relevant because he won the championship. Slowly, Ando's starting to become relevant because of his own thing with Team Fright or whatever, but with you, your relevance, like, Axel's relevant right now, Colby's relevant, like, to keep that relevancy, Twitch right now is still relevant. There's guys that aren't, and it's like this constant buttery films. That motherfucker's relevant as all hell. And it's like, you know, for better or worse, you've got to live in this world now where it's like you're just fighting to be, like, relevant. Yeah. And it's like up to your own creativity to, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And that old saying goes, like, you're only as good as your last race. Yeah. It's very similar with, like, what we do, and it's easy to just, you know, if you get hurt and you start to, you know, maybe get in a funk or something and get over it for a bit, like, you lose traction and it's hard to gain it back sometimes, you know?
Well, like, even you were saying about your, like, obviously Ducked Out dropped this week, which is your latest Red Bull project with Moto, and, you know, we're watching every day your profile visits, just, like, crazy numbers. And it's like, that's like right there, that's what being relevant is. Yeah, exactly. There's these waves, and it's like, how do you keep on this upward climb?
And it's tough because, you know, you get into a point, like, for me, after that first week of December, when I went every weekend straight since July, I was just so fried, so mentally team 2 fried, that I just shut down, you know what I mean? I was just like, I was scrolling through the scroll hole, but I was never, like, I was just over posting and didn't really, you know, and I wasn't doing anything. I didn't ride for like 3 weeks almost, so I just,
like you say, you're not the kind of post just to post.
I'm not just going to post a photo of the beach because I'm there. I mean, I use it most of the times when I'm doing those things, or I'm at the beach, and I'm there to enjoy it, not there to take a picture on my phone and let everyone else know that I'm enjoying that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just doing it for myself, basically. But yeah, you get those waves of up and down, and, like, the traction. I just fully, like, lost in those 3 weeks. I didn't really post much, and you throw like an old throwback photo up or something, and it's just not the same. People want to see what you're doing right now. Yeah. You know? So I mean, it's crazy to see that, you know, my profile visits are so down and all my numbers, and then you get off people's algorithms and you're not relevant anymore. Gnarly. You know what I mean? It's exactly what you said. You start to lose steam and you lose relevancy, and it's fucked up. But
that's what you're getting paid for.
I could care less because I'm getting paid to do that thing, and no matter those amount of likes or views or numbers that I have on that thing, of course that, like, more helps. But as long as I'm doing it.
Well, the funny thing with you is, like, you're in the full new school lane. Like, you're an influencer.
I hate that so much. Hey, will you make sure I'm still in frame on that thing?
No, he's good.
Sure?
Yeah, he's good. I got the screen down there.
Because I keep moving. No, I can't get comfortable.
It's more the forward and back that's the problem.
Sorry.
So I think you're good there. I'll move it there. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, like, I was thinking before that you're in the full new school Instagram you're an influencer. That's where we were. But you're in that. I know you do, but I love it. But that's the lane that you're in now. Yeah. But you're kind of like an old school dude. You're not like, all right, so Toby, if you hang out with Toby, you hang out with Toby and his phone. Yeah. That's who you hang out with. Yeah. If you hang out with Tyler Bereman, you hang out with Tyler Bereman. You don't really hang out with you and your phone.
There's times that I'm stuck to the phone, but it's
more like, I mean, if we're in the studio doing nothing, but like when we're at the track or when we're filming or when we're out somewhere, like you're not on your phone, and you sort of, like we even talked about it, that, you know, you look at yourself on camera and you're like, fuck, I look like this and I hate this, and oh man, and like I have that as well. Yeah. And for me, and I know for you, it's almost like a battle to post those things. It's like a mental barrier every time that you have to overcome. Yeah. Like every time I post something that I'm in, I'm like, fuck. Yeah. Like I don't really want, this might be the video where everyone realizes I'm a fucking idiot. You know? And it's like, but some people, they don't have that, and they're cool with, and I don't know, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'd probably rather be that person. Yeah. But it's like you're the same as me in that respect. And it's like, it's hard to be, you know, you get paid to sort of like promote yourself and things, and it's like you don't really, not like that kind of guy.
Yeah, for sure. Like, not to, it's like you hear it sometimes when people like Instagram and like influencers like are posting something to make them look so cool, or their lives or whatever, but it's like, it's just a front for the most part, you know. And like for me, like it's not a front, it's what I do, and it's my job to be able to post those things. But like I don't know, it's not me being somebody I'm not. Like it's just basically my job, you know. It's my job to post those things, so I have to do it, and I do it. But it's not like when I go to the track and go ride, like, you know, like I don't have, like I'm not gonna like take a friend of mine to the track to give him my phone to get clips of me. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go to the track, and when I go to the track, that's my escape. It's my escape from my phone, to put my phone in my van and not have to worry about it. Go ride and have fun and worry about what you're doing while you're doing it. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I don't know, I differentiate a little bit, because I just don't really care about too much to have that, to like have someone go film everything I'm doing every day, to, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Just, I guess it's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's definitely, it's just a weird thing to like have to overcome.
I'm not going to live and die by it, and that's why I think it's what's so cool that I've gotten to this point where I'm at, because I'm not living and dying by it. I'm just doing my thing, man, just posting photos of me riding my dirt bike and videos and certain situations and updates and trips like this, and it's just like,
but it's like an old school mentality. Like if you were to look at, because we don't really have free riders, or like, until you guys, you and Axel and maybe Twitch and some guys that just free ride. You don't do flips, you don't do fucking all that shit. And it's like, surfing's always had that. Yeah. Snowboarding's always had that.
I mean, it's came and gone and came back, I guess, in Moto. Like, yeah, the guys always doing all that stuff, like back in like the crusty days and all that. But like,
yeah, I suppose that's true, huh?
And dudes like Seth, and like Seth wasn't necessarily doing tricks that much. You know what I mean? True. And certain guys, like, were, you know, there was dudes that were crushing it, and before freestyle was like crazy big, you know what I mean? And then it gets to the point where it's kind of fell off because of, like we said, dudes like Ricky have kind of taken it to a level of like the racing thing, that it's like you're either serious or you're not. And then the freestyle guys are kind of fuck offs, and like then freestyle kind of was like, I don't know, it seemed like it was going up for a while to where it peaked, and then it got super dangerous, and it's kind of just stayed. Not that freestyle's dead by any means, but it's just gotten to that point where it's so fucking gnarly and so dangerous that it's
you're not
scary.
Like you're not a kid that's at home being like, I think I could be a freestyle rider. Yeah, everyone's just
that's what I think people like. That's why people get so hyped on
what you guys do
on a whip, because a person at home can go see us do a whip, and they can go ride the next day and try to turn the bar and pull their butt off the seat on a jump the next day. You know what I mean? and it's relatable. Like you watch these things like freestyle or BMX park for instance, like these guys that they're snowboarding slopestyle. Like to me, I'd rather watch a back one on a snowboard than a quad cork or triple cork any day, because it's simple and style or a method. Like to me, if you relate snowboarding and motocross, a whip is a method.
Yeah,
and
that
it's
makes sense.
super, super, super simple, but yet so fucking important.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The style of it, like just everything about it. It's so simple, but it's so important.
Yeah.
Like if you're a snowboarder and you don't have a good method, you're out.
Yeah, see you, bro.
Yeah.
That's so true, dude. I haven't really ever thought about it like that. I think it's cool too that there's different kinds of whips now. Like, when did you start to think about the different types of whips, and like, is there any other whips that you think could be done? Or
I think, of course, you know, there's like the twitch whip, the turn down now, you know.
Yeah.
And then the turn up, like the twitch.
Who did the turn up the first? Was it Twitch?
Yeah. Twitch and Hanny.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like MC used to kind of like float the front end a lot back, you know, like in the Terra Firma days, Steel Roots, he would kind of like pull up and he'd kind of float the front end, but it's kind of just elevated to the point of where it's at now. And you got to, you know, dudes like Twitch and then Hanny, and like those two guys made him look insane. And then obviously you got Axel, and then I'd, you know, be up in that conversation, I guess. And like just the way it's elevated, I think, is just so crazy. So, and that's personally what I think like is so cool about the whole whip game now, is because you can't just be like
have one
like,
sick whip.
It's not like, and not to take anything away from Jared, right? Jared McNeil, like baddest motherfucker on a bike, like crushes it, and he has that many whip medals and that many medals for a reason. He's gnarly. No, not taking anything away from him. But he's one. He had one with that same whip for so many years, you know. And it had always been that kind of whip that won.
Like Todd Potter won with the same whip for a while.
Hanny's 2013 X Games whip.
Crazy.
To me, to this day, is still probably the best whip I've ever seen. Some people have told me like, "Oh, that one at X Games that you did this year, it was just like it's just different."
Can you play that, Jaden? Try and find that. What was it? 13.
Yeah.
Josh Hansen best whip.
2013
I'll
best
watch that
whip.
shit. I want to see that shit.
But now it's just elevated to the point to where like
you've got to have like a repertoire.
You got to have like, and I think that's where, as of right now, like me, or I would say Axel and myself.
Oh, the second one.
Like Axel and myself are.
Oh.
That's not it.
That's not it though, eh?
No. I would say Axel and myself like have been working a lot on the turn-ups on a ramp. Yeah. But then like, you know, to see there's Josh, that's 13. He just did a turn-up on a ramp.
Yeah. Dude, like look at how much
like he was just like that, like that night he was just flowing so good.
Wow,
that's the one, dude. Right there. That's,
oh my god.
That was that. Yeah, that was the one, I think.
Go back. That was sick as fuck.
I think,
dude. Look how much further the turn-ups have gone even in the last, what's that, 8 years? 7 years?
Yeah, it's definitely gotten.
Like, because that's not even near backwards there. Oh.
I think
that's
I don't
so
even
savage,
that
dude.
one, that one was sick, but I don't know if that was.
Is that not even the one?
I mean, I don't remember. He's still down. That's the one.
Oh my god, dude.
No, still not it.
What?
Still not it. I don't think.
It's like he found a new thing there.
No.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like he's figuring out a new whip right now. Dude, that's like corked.
Well, anyways, where are we going with that? It's just gotten to such a level that.
Well, so he's had 2 whips there. Basically.
That was the one. See, 42%, like that. He 100%, like it was. He won. There was no.
Yeah.
Sugarcoating that.
No.
Like he won. sorry, Twitch. I don't care how many Twitter followers you have.
Oh,
that
is that
night,
the year that Twitch?
That night, he straight up beat you in person and on Twitter.
Look how dirty that
but
is.
That's biggest whip to this day, I think, still.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, so
that's like upside down.
But to have, like you were saying, the turn up, the turn down, and then the regular old school seat bounce whip, it's like.
Plus, you've got them opposite too.
Yeah, you can do the opposite ones, but it's usually to the point of these contests. It's a jam format, and you know basically if you have 8 riders and you only have 8 minutes, you're basically gonna get 4 jumps.
So you've got 4 whips.
Yeah, you've basically got to do one of the so me and Axel have the turn up. Like a lot of people don't really try them. You know, okay. They'll do whips 2 ways and kind of do, you know, basically 2 seat bounces and 2 turn downs and try to get them as best they can.
Yeah.
And then I would just me and like Axel and myself, we kind of just roll through all 3 of them, and then whichever one we think's the biggest or feels the biggest or we know is our biggest, we'll throw the 4th time.
Yeah, right.
Like to end it out, you know. But that's why I'm a huge fan of how they ran the best whip contest at Monster Cup this year, the 2 in a row. It's just it's something. Yeah. It's something that whip needs, because it's gotten to such a level that every single person has such a unique or crazy whip, but multiple ways or multiple different kinds of whips or whatever, that it needs to be showcased. You know, you can't just, it needs to have that room for growth. It can't just be Jared winning with that same whip every time. And again, not to take anything away from Jared, the dude's gnarly. He's got a gnarly turn down. He's like been practicing his turn ups. He's like he crushes it all the way across the board. But to have that overall impression score of having 2 jumps in a row and having that variety of whip is to me is where whip has now gotten. Yeah. Like these dudes have 3 whips. He's like, for me, it was like at Monster Cup 2 in a row. It was seat bounce whip the first one and turn down the second one. And then if I did a turn up on the first one, I'd seat bounce the second one. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was constantly just had a flavor of different whips and was just doing them all. Yeah. And I think that's where it's gotten to the point of you know, the whip contest. I don't think it'll ever happen at X Games, like 2 in a row, just because of floor space, and you gotta have a lot of floor space for that. Yeah.
But I think it's cool. Like Monster Cup, like kind of really does mean something, though. You know. Like,
for sure. That's how I earned my way into X Games. Yeah. Was through Monster Cup. So like it's always meant something to me because that's how I got in. You know. So, but yeah, like even X Games this year, I think the overall score was cool for what I did, because I had 4 jumps, and that's exactly how I did it at X Games. It started with my seat bounce whip, and then turn down, and then turn up, and then end with the seat bounce, you know? And then it got to the point where it was like, okay, you made the final, you have, I think we had 3 jumps in the final. So it was like, okay, I'm going to do a seat bounce, and then I'm going to do a turn down. And then if they both felt like that feeling, because you look for that feeling, you know, like
the feeling Honey had. Yeah,
that feeling, like if basically you scare yourself and you don't think it's coming back, like, you know, that one's probably the one. And that was another thing working with the mental coach. I got to the point where I was looking for that feeling. I'm not trying to do something in particular. I'm just trying to get that feeling that we're looking for, you know, and when you feel it, you know. And, you know, like I did the first one and it felt pretty big. And then I did my turn down, and my turn down felt really big. But then I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I'm looking at the scores and I'm sitting 3rd right now. Like, I'm not going to do a turn up on like, and all of them be like, not that feeling that I want. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do the one I know, and that's my seat bounce one. And I sat into that thing and I gave myself that feeling.
We gotta watch that bad boy thing. Pull that one up.
You'd probably go to my Instagram. Go or down, keep going. It'd be right with all the X Games ones.
Dude, shout out to Garth Milan for those photos at X Games too. They were the sickest photos I think I've ever seen.
That one right there.
Look at, oh dude, that's pretty fucking big. Like if we're looking at Hanny's one. Hanny's one was so flowy though, eh?
Yeah, so just, there was not a time where he looked out of control, you know?
Fuck. I feel like that went further, like that though. But
Yeah.
Hanny's one is so
It's all
flowy.
about like the camera angle, but this one's pretty sick, this angle.
Fuck, dude.
Like if my foot wouldn't have slid back right there, I think it would have looked cooler, but I thought for a second there, I thought I was past the point of no return. But that was that feeling I literally scared the shit out of myself.
And what are you doing at that point? Like, are you like how are you bringing these things back? Like, is it just pure like force, or is it all part of like the flow of it? What a save too, by the way.
I tossed it out there like I sat into it as hard as I could, and then it tossed out, and then it got basically went from tossing it out, getting underneath it, and my knees were bent, to like getting that like push of the knees like right there.
Yeah.
Push it out underneath and in front of you, and then at that point it's just fucking put the bars to the stop and
Try and pull
her back as hard as you can and hold it wide open.
What does the revs do? Like, obviously it's gonna bring the front down, but does that help bring it around? Or
Yeah,
because like you can do whips sometimes without using the throttle.
Yeah, but you'll never ever see those huge whips without being stuck wide open. I mean, Hanny's was pretty not as wide open. Like his was more just like floaty and sandy. But that, I mean, that, I don't know. Maybe everyone's different, but these days every single, you're wide open the whole time. And I think just the faster that thing's spinning around, the faster just physics brings it all back.
Dude, it's so crazy how you like just throw your upper body like around. Like you get to this point and then you go like, oh, you can't really see it as much from that angle. When you see it from the second, dude, you're fucking backwards. That's so gnarly. Off the pegs.
So the one at Monster Cup was, I think, set at 78 and it was propped up.
Yeah.
I was hitting the first one, and you have so much rolling speed into the next one that I would just land and just like shift down to first gear.
Really?
Yeah, I was hitting the second one 78 feet in first gear.
Really?
So yeah, if you go click off this one and then go up, keep going up. How's that picture from Nitro Games?
Down where?
The one right in the middle.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah. God, that ramp's insane.
That's so gnarly.
So gnarly. Look at the wind blowing too with the flags.
Fuck that.
But yeah, keep going up. Keep going. Keep going. That one. Right. No, the next one. Yeah, that one.
So what's this one from?
This is the double up in Monster Cup. So it's seat bounce the first one.
Fuck.
And then shift down to first. Turn down, second one. First gear.
Dude, that's so gnarly.
And if you go back, see the one next to that one? That's like an iPhone video of my very last jump.
Dude, how's the Cineflex they got there?
It's so sick.
Oh, man.
Look at it, and how I just pulled it back in, shift down to first.
Whoa, dude.
That's the thing. Like, it whips elevated to such a level that, like, again, not to take anything away from him, but Jared, like, absolutely crushes it at whips. Like, he didn't make the final, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the first time Jared's ever not made a final, ever.
So crazy how the game elevates.
So if you go up, keep going up, that one right there in the middle, yeah.
Oh, look at that influencer shot.
Like this one's sick too.
Where's this one from?
Same thing, Monster Cup.
Oh, okay.
Different angles. That one to...
That shit just blows my mind.
First
dude.
gear too.
How you can catch that? Like when you're
and
throwing
then that's
those
a
turn
first
downs?
gear seat bounce right there.
Really?
Yeah, on the second one.
Dude, I don't know how you catch those turn downs because you're throwing them so hard. Like, that's pretty much the whole technique.
Yeah,
is like just trying to catch him, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look at that. I look like I'm so nosed in.
It's like
too.
dipped in, huh?
That's like, yeah, crazy.
Danny Stew crushing it. Yeah, so before we dip out and head to New Zealand, I reckon we should watch this Robbie Madison, Tyler Bereman ducked out clip. How did all this shit come about, bro? Because it was insane.
It was funny. We were just talking about that a few minutes ago. That helping Moto out do that aircraft thing and seeing him do Pipe Dream and just all his crazy.
Were you there for Pipe Dream?
No, I was not.
Oh, okay.
I wish, but no. That'd have been a scary one though, man. Watching my friend do that, I couldn't imagine Amy and the kids and all that going on. It's crazy. But anyways. Yeah, seeing Moto do all those things, and then obviously finally getting on not finally, just getting on Red Bull and being able to be able to bring your craziest ideas to them and put on a table or put on a piece of paper and try to make them come to life is something that's what Red Bull's all about. You know, they're the results and everything like that comes along with doing what I do in X Games. All that stuff's cool, but they want content, you know. They want to produce cool videos, cool content, cool videos that make you that bring you back, you know. So
shit that gives you wings.
Yeah. So that was always my goal, was to be able to create content and be able to, like, watching Krusty's and all this stuff growing up. That was it. I wanted to go film and ride my dirt bike, you know. I didn't necessarily, of course, at a point I wanted to be a racer and do all that, but this is what I wanted to do. So to be able to start filming my first Red Bull project that I put out, Fundamentals. I put that out right after I got hurt. I started it before I got hurt, and then fortunately it got to finish right when I got back, and then put that thing out right when I got to X Games, which was my first Red Bull project and in the bag basically, and then to follow it up with this ducked out project that we did was pretty cool because it was. At a point I didn't know if Fundamentals was going to get done because so much time had went by and with being in Florida and the timing with weather and stuff like that, I didn't know if I was going to be able to get it done. So basically to bag 2 Red Bull videos before the end of my first 2-year contract was all time for me. That was something that was my goal, to do one big video a year, if not more. So unfortunately I had to cram them both into 6 months, but that's how she went. But anyways, so this whole video started as me and Moto were driving to I think we were going to Red Bull. We were going somewhere, and we were of course late, sitting there, and we were like looking at all these aqueducts and stuff like that, and we were just like, oh, like how sick would it be to, like, getting stuck in traffic, just like rip out of here, you know, and rip aqueducts. And then it just turned into, like, Moto had the idea, like, oh, like we could just ducked out, and it was just like bingo, like perfect, you know. And then we kind of had, like, you know, these ideas that we wanted to do and stuff like that, but it honestly was more of mine and Mato's kind of like idea, and then we wanted to, like, I think we had talked to Steve about it a bit, but I went to Washougal, and it was, I don't even remember when it was right before, I can't remember. I think it was in May of 2 years ago. Anyways, whatever. I met with Cam and Clay from Metis Creative. I was at Washougal doing a Honda commercial up there. Yeah. And we were I was in the back seat, and we were on our way to go get some beers after it was all done. And I was flying out the next day, and I was just shooting the shit with them in the back seat, talking about video and film and content ideas. And mind you, like, a couple of Clay Porter's videos that he's released in his DVDs of, like, amazing. I love watching, and
he's one of my favorite
mountain bike
filmmakers.
films. Yeah, he crushes his films. So just shooting the shit with these guys, and then it ended up talking about, like me and Mato were talking about doing this like kind of like urban part and being stuck in traffic and ripping out of traffic, and it potentially at first we were kind of trying to go through these aqueducts and go, you know, be in the city and then rip through an aqueduct and all of a sudden pop out of the other side of the aqueduct and we're in the hills somewhere, and then we pop out the other side here and like go into another one, we pop out one and we're in different environments. It's kind of our original thought, but then just, you know, with some talk with everybody and we ended up kind of getting on the phone and then basically building a deck together, all three of us, or four of us, five of us, all together on a conference call, and built a crazy deck. And then it just slowly came to fruition. I mean, I think when the film dropped on January 22nd last week, or beginning of this week, a couple of days ago, it been 20 months, I think, from our first conversation.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Because there's so much like permitting and like zoning.
There's so many things. So, I mean,
100%.
That was the first conversation that we had, and then ended up talking with Steve about it. Had multiple conversations back and forth with Steve, super good ones, and then like 110%. If it was not for Steve, Steve Shearer like crushed this whole thing. Like without his hard work and dedication, there's no way that we would have made this happen. To even endless emails to dealing with scouts, location scouts, and having meetings with all these people and pulling permits for all this stuff, and just so much went on behind the scenes, and like cannot thank Steve enough for being there through the whole process. And there's days that he probably wanted to kill me and Mato and pull his own hair out, and I mean, the whole thing was just having, obviously going with the location, getting a location scout for movies that does like big budget films, worked with the location scout that does that stuff. So kind of went around scouting for multiple days, like multiple times scouts, and like multiple scouts.
So you would go on the scout trips?
Me and Mato and Steve with these guys, with a couple of these scout location guys, and
that would have been a pretty cool experience.
Really, really, really cool. But me and Mato, our wheels get to turning, and we're like, oh, how about that? How about that? How about that? How about that? But the logistics that go into all that stuff, to shutting down sidewalks, to shutting down streets, to shutting down
police escorts,
locking it up, police escorts, all these things, like time, money, lot goes into it. Lot goes into it. So, of course, everything me and Mato would see is like, oh, nope, you know, just nope, not happening. And then it finally figured out, you know, of a handful of places that would work, and tried to, you know, could take the next step on getting the permits and all that stuff. And you know, most of it was, I wouldn't say easy, because I wasn't the one doing it, but it was smoother than our LA River and Sepulveda Dam part. Which is, I'll point them out here when we start this, but to get the keys to the LA River, you got to have a meeting. Like, you got to get approved from the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's no easy task to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
So finally got a meeting. We had 4 meetings, I think. We went to the dam 3 times, and Steve and them had a 4th meeting, I believe, with these people. Everything was set. Like, we had this place, like, had the permits, like craft services the next day. We had Matt from Trick Factory on call with like the tractor, like everything there, ambulance, like everything you could think of, the whole crew, film crew.
It's like a full movie production.
Full production. Full production. The night before we start to film, 11th hour, and that was our first location of 4 days straight of filming, 2 locations each day. So 8 locations altogether. Yeah. Well, I would say 6 locations, but 2 of those locations were basically a grid all around downtown. Okay. So we would have a police escort, and we would follow the police and get to film all around this grid in basically a big square around downtown. So those were 2 of the days. So it wasn't necessarily a location, but just filming downtown. Yeah. But yeah, it was 2 locations each day. So that was our first location, and that was one of it was one of the features in it that was like what we need, not necessarily needed, but it was one of the better features. What would have been really cool. What we had set out to do there was pretty next level. We were basically
we'll show it when
I'll pause it, but
well, we should just play that now, full screen it, and then that way, and then just tell Jaden when to like pause it or whatever.
Okay. But yeah, so the 11th hour the night before, we got a call. We were supposed to be on. That's Sepulveda Dam. If you hit pause real quick. Oh, sorry.
So skip back a bit. Just press like the back arrow key. It just takes you back like a few seconds. So there.
So there's the Sepulveda Dam. So we were basically going to be. Originally, we wanted to drop off the top into the
How
the
far
slope.
would that have been?
Not as big as Mato's drop, I don't think.
Oh, really?
But this was better landing.
Yeah. Okay.
But it just Mato's was just the wedge was so tall that it made I think it made the drop look not as big, but this.
Yeah, I was gonna say if that's bigger than Mato's, like that actually looks bigger than Mato's there.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we were gonna drop
gnarly.
off the top. That they shut that down. So our original plan was to basically rip out of traffic and like we'd be into the river. We jump into the river, into the river, and then here we are. We find this thing. We're screwing around on the flats. We nose wheelie up over and disappear out of frame. Come back, and we were going to be simultaneously on each side of one of those pillars, wall riding it over the black piece that you see, and basically coming back in together and ripping out of frame in and out of that location. And there was 11th hour the night before at 8 p.m. in a production meeting at Red Bull, getting ready to do everything the next morning. Had to be on set at 6. Then we got a call from the guy, one of the guys that we had our very last meeting with, and he said a higher up basically shut everything down north of the dam, which is on that side.
Yeah.
So that kind of screwed our chances at doing that, but we made the best. We did everything we could at this location, but basically all we had was the apron on the front, which is the flat part that you see, and a little bit of dirt off to the side. We really couldn't do much, which was definitely a bummer, because if we would have had that and tied it all together, it would have been insane. Yeah. And not to say that like it wasn't, the video wasn't cool, like amazing video, amazing how it came out, but if we would have been able to have this and what we had set out to do and paid for and permitted, like it would have really tied, like just had the like a couple different really cool features that were bigger features that to add into it, which we didn't get to do that. But end of the day, the video came out insane.
Yeah, it just goes to show how gnarly that whole permit process is. So keep going.
So yeah, this was all
done so well too.
Super well. And it's funny, like we did this like doing the traffic.
You guys like didn't get much traffic.
No,
right?
we literally did our traffic scenes on Friday morning. Like these spots that are usually completely gridlocked. And there's like really not that much traffic, so we kind of had to like improvise and create our own traffic a little bit. But
was it cool working with Mato? Because like Mato's acting is good.
No, Mato's acting is insane, and it's just cool like working with him on this level too, of like knowing that I did aircraft with him, and knowing that like his pipe dream, and just knowing our 20 months that went into this. Like I couldn't imagine of all that went into multiple football field jumps and world record jumps and just all that, so just
love that shot, dude.
Just the work ethic and the inspiration that I got from this, like being able to work with Mato on that level and together as friends, and yeah, I don't know, it was pretty cool just to see like if there's a will, there's a way. If you have a vision, you can kind of work together and make it happen.
Dude, pause it for a sec. That I remember when we were filming, we got the drone thing was just starting to come in. Like our first drone was one of those crazy like octocopter deals. It was like fucking 40 grand.
Yep, Axum.
Dude. And like that that whole deal, I remember thinking like, where does it go next with the whole drone? I was like, this is it. I remember having that thought, and I remember thinking like, man, you always think this is it. You always think that that's like the top. But I was like, I really can't see where like you can go from here. Yeah. And now with those racing drones, like some of those racing drone shots in this are like next level, dude. Like the one where they come down.
Come down the buildings. Yeah, it's pretty crazy because.
So go again, Jen. Sorry, bro.
if you see, there's certain like.
Oh yeah, this was a cool feature.
Yeah, one of those angles too, from down below, you can see the building that he actually scaled down with the drone.
Yeah. Dude, it must have been super fun.
Oh, it was so much fun. It was like a dream come true, man.
Was it
like,
surreal?
It was 100% surreal. Like the whole time, being able to like. So right when we started, like right when we started our police grid, the second day, it was just like, what are we gonna, like, what can we get away with? Like, what can we really do? What can't we do? Like,
yeah, right.
And we just started doing wheelies, and they would like, we'd like come to the next stop, and we'd like turn back and like look at the cop and be like, oh, is he gonna be pissed? Is he gonna be pissed? Is he gonna pull us over? No, it was just like, and then you look back and they were cool, and then the next thing you know, we're doing nose wheelies, and the next thing you know, I just fucking grab a gear and start doing burnouts, like super close to the Staples Center, and it's like,
dude, this is so perfect.
Yeah, this was cool. This was like huge fan of Tori Podwell, so to have him be able to, or be willing to lend a hand to make a cameo in our video was awesome. Dude, and that was perfect, like awkward elevator scene with someone that you don't know. You know?
Yeah, dude, that comment, like, this is that drone shit I'm talking about. It's so gnarly.
So, dude, he had to go scale down the building and time it. We had to time a countdown, and Moto had to go out, and I had to give him a couple bike links so the dude could come scale down the building and fly in between us and go through the arch. Like, it was crazy. There was a couple of times where he flew underneath me so fast he like clipped my skid plate.
Really?
Yeah.
How gnarly is that
so
shit, man?
Crazy.
That's like next level skill.
Because I think they were saying the thing goes like 60 miles an hour or something.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it?
What we were talking about, this thing, like this whole thing, like was surreal. We were like trying to see what we can get away with, and we're like, oh, we kind of do whatever we want, you know, as long as we're not disrupting traffic. Then we're good. Yeah. So it's like we're going like with the flow of traffic and all that, and like just having a bridge shut down to be able to do like.
Oh, pause it, Jane. Let's talk about this.
So
there's a gnarly story with this.
Yeah, this story. So yeah, like, I mean, just having that bridge, dude, being able to do wheelies, like 5th gear wheelies like that, going that fast, and like having cops right behind you, knowing like that you're not gonna get in trouble, was just so surreal. The craziest thing ever. Like riding through downtown, like just, you know, it's literally a dream come true, like straight up dreaming. And like at the end, like it was all a fucking dream, but it was like what we've dreamed about for years as a kid, driving down the road and only seeing the hills next to you, you know. It's like it was a dream. Like you've fallen asleep and dreamed about shit like that, and like, so yeah. That was crazy, the whole thing. So then you get to, you know, multiple days, multiple locations. We go underneath like all the overpass parts where we did some of the clips. We had that morning we started there, and then it was crazy because, you know, each day you're basically on a crazy time crunch schedule. You have to start by this time and leave by this time to get to the next location, because it's already permitted and you only have a certain window of time that you have it permitted for. So everything had to be like on point, right? So Moto, we go to this place the first time, and we had a couple like it underneath the bridge was crazy slick on top. There was a lot of dust on top of the asphalt. And Moto took like 3 diggers this morning, like on the asphalt, just not hard at all, just like pushing the front end, just a little slide out or whatever, but like had to change some bars and like had to change gear, and it was like.
Not to mention you're like 3 days deep into a gnarly shoot.
This is day 4. This is the 4th day, and like mind you, we do all this stuff. We're on our motorcycles from sun up to sundown with 1 hour break for lunch. Yeah. For 4 days straight, and the last time me and Moto have done that. This is never really. So like, you know, Matt, like doing stunt stuff and being on set all day, yeah, it was one thing, but you're not riding all day, like not in sweaty gear doing wheelies, nose wheelies and shit all day. Mind you, it's not the hardest riding, but you're on the bike for a long time. So we left that place. Moto, luckily, you know, laid her down a couple of times, but he got his crashes out of the way, got that thing, and at that point, like when we were here on this Scout and we we looked at this part. We went to the LA River and we found this bridge, and we were like, oh, like, you know, we were walking underneath it, and I was like, oh, you can wall ride the wall, you can do this, you can do that. And Mato is like, you know, Mato just being Mato looks up and he's like, I think you can drop off that bridge. And I'm just like first, like, oh, like, you know, well, when you're there and you're standing there, like, it didn't really like look that gnarly. Like, that's totally doable, right? And you get up there and you stand on the bridge and you have the guardrail next to you that's up to your ribs, even a little higher up. It doesn't seem that gnarly when you're like got the guardrail right
but then
here,
when you stand up,
and then you look over. But then, you know, we left the first location that day, and on the day we show up and the ramp's built. Like, it's really fucking real. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is happening. Like, there's no turning back. One lane of the freeway, or one lane of the bridge, is locked down. They've been there for hours setting up this ramp, and it's go time, you know? Like, it absolutely go time. So getting there on the day was way, way, way gnarlier than we remembered. Obviously, standing up at level of the guardrail made it way gnarlier. You have a wedge going up with one bike length to turn and drop off to clear. You see these poles? Yeah. There's a chain link fence with barbed wire at the top of it with like a 5-foot cement wall that you're clearing all this stuff to land on a 45-degree wedge that's way too flat for how big this is, but not flat enough to be like, I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah. There was no doubt in our mind that it wasn't gonna work. The only thing we were thinking is, are we gonna clear that fence? What we should have been thinking is, are we going to land on the fucking flats? You know? But, so me and Matto, you know, like, obviously.
Because you were supposed to do this as well, right?
I was supposed to. This was 100%, like, this was Matto's idea, and this was his. Yeah. Like, he saw it, and that's his deal. He's crazy fucking step downer. So, so yeah, like, we were riding off it, but it helps so much having someone else riding with you, and being able to judge your judgment off of somebody else. And we would ride up that thing, and you can see like there's knobby marks to the left of the wood, and we were going off to the left to see where it would put us in the road, and then we were putting tape on the road to make sure that we were gonna past the wall, because that's what we were thinking, like, past the wall. But if you think about it, your forward momentum at 250-pound motorcycle plus your weight, your weight carried out, you don't have to go nearly as fast as you think.
So you guys were trying to line it up.
We were trying to line it up to clear that
when you needed to be maybe a couple feet before it.
We needed it, but anyway, so we started jumping off the side. I was jumping further than Matto each time, but Matto, obviously has a lot more experience doing drops like that. So he was going to the left, and then, you know, it got to the point like, okay, like, it's go time, you know, and I had to get myself in the mindset, like, put myself back, like, my mental coach was not there, but put myself with my mental coach and, like, just shut everything else out. And, like, it was like putting myself in the mindset for that was not easy. Like, full, like, safety gear that I had, threw it on, like this is, like, to the point to where Steve and my mechanic Rob and, like, people were like, after the fact, we're tripping and, like, are you okay? Like, are you pissed off? Like, what's wrong? And it's like, no, like, dudes, I'm not pissed off. I'm so nervous and I'm so focused on this right now because, like, this is no joke. Like, this is no fucking joke. Just with the way the whole thing was built, it's like, your margin of error is, like, none.
You don't have one.
You don't have one.
No.
So we were riding off to the side, and mind you, on this shot, I don't know if you went back a little bit, but you can see my bike leaned against the wall right here.
Go back one, but like press the back thing. So yeah, go.
See my bike?
Yeah.
If you keep, like, hit play. See my bike sitting there? Yeah. I'm standing like another 50 feet down the bridge, because I knew, like, it was like Matta was running up to it, and at this point our time is ticking for our
so you didn't even have time to get your bike
permit
off the bridge.
No, like, our time is, at that point I was still hitting it. I was hitting it after him. Like, so I was up there with my helmet. Like, I just left my bike there, like,
Because you had to run back and do it, yeah.
Well, because I had to run back and do it, but I was getting a good view where I was out of the camera or out of the other shots, and then being able to get a view of Mato's landing, you know? Because I was nervous as all hell for my best friend, dude. Like that, the mental battle that Mato went through for that, like, you know, I mean, it wasn't like he was like, oh, like freaking out, and like, it was just, I know that mindset to get to that point. So,
and like you were saying too, that he doesn't, like all of his other big step downs, he's had like heaps of time to prepare,
he's
and
practiced.
Like,
He's built scaffolding, worked his way up to it. This was everything about this was raw dog, you know. So so yeah, I'm in the mindset like I'm having to hit this thing, and basically we have basically like 30 minutes left on our permit, and in the end of that 30 minutes, everything's got to be off the bridge. Everything got to be off. So we basically, we're waiting, and I'm on comms. I got a microphone in my ear, and so is Mato, and Mato's like riding off to the left, and each time he's like turning his head to the right, like
just gauges,
to gauge where he's at, you know, and then I just hear like Mato just like kind of like stop, and he like gives it a couple revs, and he like, you could tell he's like doing his thing, and then he's like, all right guys, like it's go time, this is it, you know, and it's like everyone's like, you know, we're all on comms, so you got the guy locking up the streets, you got the AD, you got all these people like LAPD, lock it up, like cameras rolling, like blah, you know, all this shit, and it's just so real. My fucking heart's just like, mind you, like Amy and the kids, and like everyone's sitting right below them, like back here to the right.
Wow.
Like, you know, and Amy, like she's been there for all these drops, like being there on that day, knowing like how prepared he was for the other ones gave her ease. This one was just like, you know what I mean? So mind you, I'm on the bridge, so this dude like finally on the time that he does it hits it way slower than we were not like but like he had the speed going up, but noticeably slower to like, you know, and he still OJ'd it. So I know like if I had to hit that thing again, or had to hit it behind him, I would have went long, and I would have blown my wheels out even worse than he did. But so anyways, like he lands, does it, wheelies through the water, gets like, does it clean. It's like obviously not an easy landing, but pulls it clean, wheelies across the water, gets to the other side, both wheels lock up. Like gets to the wedge on the other side, wheels lock up. Like fully blew his wheels out. So at that point, it's like I'm just up, I'm like kind of hiding behind one of the poles, but I see him land, and then like let him fall on the other side, and then I like pop up, and I'm just like, fuck yeah. I'm like, yeah. I'm at it like, yeah, you know. And then at that point, it's like, okay, like fuck, his bike's stuck on the other side of the river. Like I got on my bike and I rode down to the bottom, and I'm like still I'm in the mindset like, okay, I gotta go do this now. I just watched him do it. I know, like, you know, but at that point I'm like, fuck, this is so scary, because he just blew both of his wheels out. You know what I mean? So we get down to the bottom, and then it's like executive decision, like no one else is jumping off the bridge, which at first, me getting myself in the mindset and my adrenaline pumping as hard as it was, like I'd never been that scared in my fucking life, dude, ever. You know, not even hitting the fucking 34-foot quarter pipe at Nitro. Like that thing's pretty scary, but that is just a different kind of scary. Like everything about it screams, don't fucking jump me. You know, like concrete wedge, water, fucking needles flowing through that water, probably like
sharks with freaking laser beams.
So yeah, just the whole thing, man, was just so gnarly. But at first I was kind of like, oh, like fuck, like, you know, like I wanted it because I got ready and I got myself, and then it's like, now you're not doing it. And at first I was like, you know, but now that I look back on it, it actually worked perfect, because we split off a couple times in the video, and then how do we get back together, like, you know, end up back together back in the LA River. So we ended up cutting it together really good, where we split off a couple times and got back together, and fucking awesome. Turned out so sick.
Dude, it's crazy too, man. You're playing in like the big boy land with that clip too. Like that was a real budget. That was a legit push by Red Bull. there's going to be a ton of ads that go out with that. Like, you're in front of millions and millions and millions of people on that clip, and it's like, I mean, fuck, just to earn that spot on the Red Bull roster is crazy, dude. Like, you know, the competition that you're dealing with to like get a clip like that with Red Bull,
for sure,
it's gnarly, dude.
Super gnarly. So it's just this whole thing was literally a dream. Like, it's something like, after this, we finished this drop. Both of our mechanic, Robbie Brown from RNC Motorsports, he hopped over the wall. He walked right through that LA River, disgusting water, got to the other side, changed Mato's wheels, and then we had to finish our scenes down in the bottom of the LA River. So basically, that last day was our morning part underneath all the overpasses, straight to the drop, and then finishing everything in the river. So it was, as soon as that drop was done, it was like a huge weight off of everyone's shoulders, and you know, Mato pulled it and drank a Red Bull and gave himself wings. Yeah, just to finish it off after that, what we were doing, just riding through the river, like down through the river and jumping across the river and wheeling up the banks and down, and then basically riding 2-3 miles down river to get to where you have to exit the river. Like the whole time we're riding, it got dark as we were riding down there, and then we got to the end. We didn't have our helmets, and we got out, like got to the cops that were waiting for us that had it like at the exit, and we got to follow 2 motorcycle cops on our 450s, no helmets on, through 5 miles all the way back through town, through all these streets with 2 cops in front of us, just doing whatever we want. It was just so fucking surreal at that point. Like, wow. The last 4 days was just a dream, man. Like, it's never in a million years, from 20 months ago, from this first conversation, would I ever have thought that it'd be what we're experiencing right now. You know what I mean? And to do that, like, it's crazy, man. It's just, I cannot thank Red Bull enough for the opportunity, and listening to maniacs like Mato and myself, and believing in us and our vision, and even this, like, Red Bull allowing that, like, just being cool with like that. You know what I mean? Like, being cool with like him just like flying his motorcycle off a bridge, like, and like the risk and the potential of that, like, it
does show like how much they believe in shit.
They believe, and then, you know, I mean, to think like that's nothing compared to, you know, the drops and the shit that he's done with Red Bull backing it, but still, it's just like,
it's still no joke.
It's still no joke, man. Until you sit there and you see that thing, and like so I'm pretty sure this podcast will probably be dropped by the time that the behind the scenes video drops on Monday, which is 2 days from now. 3 days from now in California. I'm pretty sure that this will be dropped, but that the BTS stuff, like, shows, like, well, and I'll post more from all the stuff I have on my phone, but it shows a lot of like what went into this and how gnarly that really was. Like, I have a video on my phone of me walking up that wedge and like looking over and seeing the wall and seeing it's just like, it gives it a whole new perspective of like how gnarly it is, you know? So it's just cool to, just glad that we got through that in one piece. That was a hectic 4 days, and then glad Mato nailed that drop in front of his wife and kids, and
he's
rode away clean.
He's such a freak.
It's funny because I mean I want to show you this, and I want to see you react to it while we're still doing this. But I have a video of him from the bottom, and it was one of the security guards that was there that was hired to like make sure everything was good, and he got a clip of it. And you can see Cruz and Jagger sitting on the corner of the tailgate in front of him, just watching their dad drop off, and it's so cool, dude. It's so cool.
Mato's a super special dude, man.
He very much so, man. Legendary dude. Legendary family. It's gonna have some legendary kids,
dude. Right? Can you imagine generation 2 of the Madisons? Fuck. And like, he's got some crazy karma coming back his way of like putting parents through fucked up shit in terms of like stressing them out, you know. I want to see this shit.
Like, you see Cruz and Jagger right there.
Wow.
Look at him. Oh,
And they're like,
oh, he pulled it. Like, that is so sick.
Dude,
It's so cool. Just
that's
like
an amazing video.
Yeah.
Does Mato have that? He would.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, he has it.
That's so sick.
And me scrolling through this is funny. Aren't you glad that we didn't fucking roll the van like I did when we were on our road trip?
That.
Like, look at that.
Dude, that's so heavy. I can't believe you did that shit.
I know.
Oh yeah, we gotta finish the video.
Finish the vid.
The
Yeah, look at
mad
that.
dog.
Look at that. Literally. Red Bull wings right there.
That could have got away from him so easy too.
Oh my gosh. Like
He's
I said,
such a savage, bro.
yeah, just can't thank Steve Shearer enough and the whole Red Bull crew for believing in us. Red Bull Media House, Red Bull Motorsports, all them. Metis Creative, Cam and Clay, and their whole crew. This was once in a lifetime opportunity,
For
and
sure.
I think we did our best to make the best of it. So,
How sick, dude.
and just like a couple of the shots, like us, like wheeling through downtown, doing fifth gear wheelies, like through multiple green lights in a row. It's just like you keep catching yourself like coming to the next stoplight and being like, what the fuck, like literally just had the biggest smile on your face under the helmet all day, except for when Matt was doing the damn drop.
And then you were just tripping. Dude, it's so sick. So sick.
But then, yeah, like doing this, how it all just relates, it comes back to just we're daydreaming, still stuck in traffic, exactly like you're doing every time you're stuck in LA traffic on your way to go ride. It's just, yeah, man, like you literally made a dream come true right there.
That's so sick, dude.
As a dream.
Well, we just did a great podcast, bro.
Another one.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you,
I'm
man.
stoked to. One of my goals was to have you in the new studio.
Yeah.
And it was just like, again, this whole trip's been one of those like pissed in the wind.
Yeah.
And we made it happen.
Yeah, pissed in the wind and laid on the wet dirt after pissing on it. No, just like I said, just getting slamming my noggin, and for as bad as that was, and for my second time down here, I'm glad it wasn't worse. I'm glad the show's still going on, and we'll catch yous in Farm Jam, mate.
Yeah, we'll see everybody in Farm Jam. Thanks to Jaden for his help during this podcast.
Thanks Jaden. Thanks Jace.
Yeah,
Thanks Gypsy Gang.
Appreciate it, bro. Yeah, appreciate everybody listening. Yeah, you can follow us along on our Instagram with some of the content that we are doing. Subscribe to the YouTube as well. If you listen to this on iTunes, that shit helps. We've got a merch store that you can visit. And yeah, just thanks to everybody for listening to me dribble with cool people.
3 things. When in doubt, throttle out. You gotta want it. Team never give up, baby.
Hashtag no source, no point.
Don't ever forget that, people. If this was a mic, I'd drop it. Like, there you go.